national, sometimes the international, and oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to a Meatloaf Monday, because it's always about the food. Meatloaf Monday. Hit it, man.
I think I'll try the meatloaf sandwich.
Do you know what that is?
Yes, meatloaf.
What is it? I'm only asking in case I have to describe it later to a doctor.
Look, it's nutritious. It's delicious.
Made out of meat. Add ketchup if you want. I couldn't care less.
It is. It's Meatloaf Monday. And back from his foray into concert land is JP on the board. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Concert was good?
I did. Yeah, I went to see Alabama up at the Huntsville Amphitheater, which, by the way, my third time at that amphitheater, I've thoroughly enjoyed every time I've went. I'm very glad that they built that amphitheater. It's awesome.
I have yet to go to an event there, but I've heard that it's great.
It is awesome, yeah.
But I saw Alabama in their prime. So how are they now? Because they've lost, one of their members.
And they're definitely good. I mean, you can tell. I mean, and they self-admittedly said, we're not moving like we used to. But what's funny is, like, in between each song, it was like a little story of how the song was made. It's like, this one, we wrote this one in the back of the car that one time, didn't we? Yes, we did. We were driving here, there. It's like in between each song.
That's awesome, though. I would have loved to have heard all that.
But it was great. It was a lot of fun.
I came home from, we were stationed in England, and we moved back here, and I was so excited to be back home. And that's when the song "My Home's in Alabama" came out. And that was like my song for a while.
Yeah. It was awesome.
That's good stuff. All right, listen. Yeah, Randy Owen and the Crews. That's just legendary right there from Fort Payne, Alabama. All right. Hey, listen, we got a great show laid on for you. Coming up at top of the hour at the beginning of hour number 2, former U.S. Attorney Jay Town on the line with us. We're going to be talking with him about law and executive orders, and that's the whole mode of the show for the first little part. So yeah, Jay Town coming up at the beginning of hour number 2. Had some breaking news even on that today that we'll cover with him. And then there's a triple dipper. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. First off, in conjunction with that conversation with Jay Town, laws and executive orders. Yep, laws and executive orders. Isn't it a heck of a thing when it takes an executive order to require the laws to be enforced or to make them enforceable? I don't know. And then you got the whole thing about, U.S. attorneys and federal district court judges having trouble getting appointed because there's a whole just realm of, tradition, I guess, that's Trump is now claiming is completely in the way and usurping his constitutional authority for appointments. A lot of stuff to talk about there. Laws and executive orders. That's number 1 on the Triple Dipper. Number 2, listen, this ain't going away. I'm calling it the cracked barrel. Not Cracker Barrel, the cracked barrel. Cracker Barrel has just stepped in it. They have just waffled themselves. They have just flat-footed. It's just awful. Well, what they're doing right now, though, is they really abandoned their base. And their stock is showing it. And their parking lots are empty. Cracked barrel. That's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. We'll discuss it in detail. And then number 3, I know who my audience is. I got a whole bunch of you guys that are out there that are green suiters, a bunch of veterans and friends and all of the military. And then there's all you guys out there in the government service or in the defense industry in this listening audience. We're going to talk about military-minded stuff. All right. So I got number 3 on the Triple Dipper, military-minded. So stand by for that one. All right, let me jump on into today's Rightside Way opening monologue, and I'll remind you guys, as always, that attorney Stan McDonald is indeed your daily sponsor of the Rightside Way, a longtime veteran in the practice of law, a longtime conservative, daily sponsor of the Rightside Way, Stan McDonald. I'll tell you more about him in just a few minutes. All right, let me jump in here and just say, I'll start off by saying I've got an amazing military heritage in my family. I do. I'm proud of it. My study at my house has so many things that have been gathered up and saved from nearly a century of military deployments and service from my grandfather, my father, and myself. And with great pride, I watch now as my son is in his 14th year of active military service. Some of my earliest memories of my dad are military related. My very first memory of him, literally, my very first memory of him is when he surprised us all after his first deployment to Vietnam. He came out of the field. He was told that his tour was up and that a Freedom Bird was waiting on the tarmac if he wanted to ride home right then. He said he threw his stuff in a duffel bag and literally just jumped on the plane. He said the flights that went from Vietnam, then to Hawaii, then to the continental United States, all connected so fast that he was actually landing in Huntsville before he even had a chance to let us know. There was a friendly passenger on the plane who noticed that he was a returning veteran and asked him who was meeting him at the airport. And he said he's going to have to find a payphone and call my mom, who was at home right then with 2-year-old me and my toddler brother. So this kind stranger up and offered him a free ride to the house in North Huntsville. And my first memory of him, I can still picture it, is my mom screaming when he stood there in the door, unexpectedly. Years later, I found things in a box like maps from his last mission and a pair of old jungle boots that still had rocks stuck in the tread. I also, by the way, found a Viet Cong flag. I asked him about it. He just laughed. He said his team found a local seamstress that they used to have them made, and they would dirty up the flags and shoot a few bullet holes through them and sell them to the guys in the rear for beer money. Hilarious. But the memories continue on. In my study, there's 3 rifles hanging on the wall. And those rifles are never going to fire again. Their role for me now is to serve as a reminder of generations of sacrifice that made this great nation what it is. My grandfather, my father, and I each brought home these reminders from World War II, Vietnam, and Afghanistan, respectively. There's a Mauser from World War II, there's a Mosin Nagant from Vietnam, and there's an Enfield black powder rifle from Afghanistan. We each one of us entered the service in Alabama, just like my son did also after us, and returned here when our tours were completed. And both my dad and my granddad have passed away now, but I know what they would say if they could watch today's news cycle. They would wonder aloud who's going to stand up. But I believe they would also be really heartened, to be honest with you, by the changes that have occurred in recent months. My family has literally fought in multiple wars and served with distinction and is still serving now, not because of any great paycheck, not because of any huge bonuses, not because it made life easier or because it was a lighthearted decision. We all served because of service. We all served because it was service above self. It was service because of not just who we are as a family, but because of what we believe this nation to be and the idea that it was worth protecting. But the nation, I believe, has been under attack over the last few years. It has. And the fight is on right now to restore what we almost lost. I read a book not long ago by a guy named Sebastian Junger. I like Sebastian Junger's stuff. The book that I read at the time was called Freedom. It's a sort of a rambling book, kind of like reading somebody's personal journal, but in it I found a quote that I thought was so on point, man. Junger was camping near a train track with some friends, and he was marveling at the size and the weight and the speed of a freight train that was going by. So he asked his hiking buddies what they thought it would take to stop something like that dead in its tracks. And the only response they could figure out was the only thing to stop that train was another train coming from the opposite direction. But then Junger said this. He said, America could seem like that as well. A country moving so fast with so much weight that only a head-on collision with itself could make it stop. And that, my friends, is accurate. It took America colliding with itself to bring a stop to the madness we were watching over the last 4 years. To say no to the woke ideologies and the fractured politics and the jaded foreign policy and the soft on crime destruction of our cities, that's where we were. That's where we are. The existential threat to all that we as freedom-loving Americans hold dear is not so much a virus or an external enemy. It was the fight going on within our own culture. And like so many conservatives across the nation, I feel as though I went through Alice's looking glass over the last few years, just having a sip at the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Conservatives were told that what we've always believed is right is now wrong, and that basic discourse is no longer allowed, and dissenting opinions were lumped together as fringe. Groupthink was required as long as it had a certain narrative to it. We have learned now of the extent to which government colluded with big tech in order to suppress free speech and independent thought. You think me wrong? Look, go spend 5 minutes on social media or most mainstream news outlets and tell me if you don't see the narrative being foisted on you. Government leaders at all levels have browbeaten citizens over the last few years and ruined their lives, crushing businesses by declaring the winners and the losers in society during the pandemic. I mean, to be sure, the coronavirus was awful. Yeah, it visited my household hard. But declaring businesses non-essential, shuttering society, keeping loved ones from visiting dying relatives in hospitals, and then using federal relief dollars just to upfund more government created all kinds of cynicism, and rightfully so. Big tech, like I said earlier, too, also protected sanctuary laws written to protect them. Just, choosing to cancel opposition in order to maintain their status quo. And then to add to that Mad Hatter's Tea Party, liberals in D.C. did all they could to degrade and attack our Supreme Court. They diminished the efficiency and the accuracy of the voting. They labeled everything as infrastructure so they could spend our grandchildren's money to fix it, they said. 4 years ago, Georgia was a red state. Elections were sacred, and riots were not commonplace. It's not a question of accepting a differing viewpoint. Politics is always cyclical. What goes around comes around, they say. And I have often debated the issues, and at times I did not feel like I was prevailing, but I learned to keep working and continue with life and just fuss at the political differences. But what we've seen is not that. The attacks on our culture over the last few years, they felt different. For conservatives, it felt more like a crushing attempt to literally change our way of life, like forever. And that's where the freight train of the right came barreling down the tracks from the opposite direction. We were not content to just sit by and let it happen, not for a minute, not one damn minute. I'm telling you, it took the freight train of America to stop the American decline. And there are heroes, there are heroes in the mix. Y'all proved it. Citizens like you with voices and reason and self-will have always been the mainstay of our society. Individual citizens still have rights and a say in what happens in their homes and their lives. Dark days do not deter resolved people. And there are many who began to work within a time such as this to bring the compass back around to true north. Ordinary people got busy doing extraordinary things because the times called for them. And at the state level, we began a push, not just the grassroots like all of y'all, but also even our state government. And not just us, but other like-minded states like us, using that 10th Amendment to our wonderful Constitution. It specifically reserves to us, the various states, those powers not otherwise enumerated to the federal government. It is there for a reason, and its purpose has never been more dramatically illuminated than what we saw over the culture wars of the past few years. I mean, think about it. Everything from school choice and anti-transgenderism and saving Title IX for girls' sports, pushing back on border policies at the state level, fighting DEI, ESG, CRT, and every other acronym you could think of. State attorneys general and state legislators in red states, and even some blue states, helped the train to come barreling in from the opposite side to stop the train that was running pell-mell towards a cliff. I once had another radio show host years ago when I was in the Senate tell me that about a bill that I had was just me looking as a solution, looking for a problem, that it wasn't necessary in Alabama. I'll tell you that story again another time. But the bottom line is he railed at me about it, and those same issues are what we're actually dealing with now. So yes, my family has served, and we are continuing to serve. And I will go where I'm called, and there will be service, but it will be service with a purpose. I'm of the mind, though, that I'm not alone in that passion to keep America great. I've spent 4.5 years here with you being daily impressed by the listeners and fans of this show who chime in every single day with thoughts and passions and efforts that surpass anything I've ever thought about doing. Y'all are heroes. This nation is filled up with folks like you, too. You are what makes America great. You're the reason why we didn't fold up and blow away. You're the reason why the train that Sebastian Junger wrote about came barreling in from the opposite side to stop the train that was running full tilt in the wrong direction. That was you. That was you. But there's still work to be done. Work that Ephesians 2 says is work that we had better be doing. And yeah, there's much at stake. There is. There's much at stake, but there are heroes still among us. Ordinary folks, some elected and some unelected, who choose to take a stand for what they hold dear. And they are needed for such a time as this. Thank you for all of you who have been in the mix, because I believe that our train is now moving things back in the right direction. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Well, there you have it. Service, man. Service. It's worth serving. And I'm just telling you, you guys serving have made the difference. Casting your vote, giving your voice, providing commentary on this show, all of it. Service. It's about what had to happen. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, you're not going to want to miss the latest edition of the Just Right podcast. We just put it in the can. Listen, we interviewed Ton Boyer, author of The Ground Kisser. What an amazing story she has, escaping communist Vietnam as a child, on a refugee boat filled with hundreds of people, intercepted by pirates, left adrift in the South China Sea, became a refugee, eventually found her way to the United States. She has a mission right now, basically to tell the world why America is the greatest place on the face of the earth, and two, to make sure Vietnam veterans know that they are loved and appreciated. Ton Boyer, you are not going to want to miss this conversation. Just Right podcast coming up. Yeah, let's do a show. 1, 2, 3, hey! Well, Ton Boyer, welcome to the Rightside Media Studio.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you.
Having me.
Look, I'm going to do just a a brief introduction, sort of tell the world who's sitting here at the table with me. But you got an amazing story. An amazing story. You grew up in a time of war in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
You became a refugee at one point, robbed by pirates as you were, leaving the country.
Right.
You were left adrift at some point, I understand. You wound up in Indonesia. You finally came to America. You found your husband. You found the Lord. You raised a family. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is you have a love for this country, which we'll talk about more with your book in a minute. But for right now, welcome to the Just Right podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Well, listen, I said it a moment ago. So you grew up in a time of war.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us where you're from and how that came about.
Yeah. I was 8 years old when the war ended. Came from in Vietnam. I came from the Mekong Delta of Vietnam. We lived right by the Mekong River. Mekong River is a pretty big river. I think it's even bigger than the Mississippi River here. But we lived right on the border between Cambodia and Vietnam. It's about 6 miles from my house. The border is, and I was 8 years old when the war ended. And because I live on the border of Cambodia and Vietnam, I also experienced the war between Cambodia and Vietnam after the fall of Saigon in 1975.
Yeah, that was a turbulent time. I mean, you're talking about the time of not just the United States presence in Vietnam and what the fall of Saigon was 1975. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the U.S. troop pulled out in 1973.
Yeah, and then Saigon fell in 75. Is that right?
Right.
And the communist takeover of the country at that point.
Exactly.
But then the Khmer Rouge were north in Cambodia, and the killing fields started in like 78, 79 time frame.
Yes, about 76 when it kind of started, and then it just escalated between 78 and 79.
Now you lived in the Mekong Delta area, so were you in an urban environment or were you in like a rural environment?
I was in an urban environment. It's a little town called Tăng Châu, Tanchau, and is in the An Giang province. It's the roads in Vietnam is really not smooth like here, so it takes about 6 hours from Saigon. So it's a little bit southwest of Saigon.
Listen, I've had some time overseas myself in different parts of the world, and I've said many times people don't realize here in America that the dirtiest alleyway is sometimes better than the best road in foreign countries.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you remember war when you were a kid?
Gosh, yes. I remember a lot. And, when the thought of putting my story together and putting it in a book, I realized that I had forgotten a lot. And once I enlisted Lisa Smith to help me with the book, she asked some questions, and it just kind of, helped me to go back to the past. So I remember mostly where I am. The Vietnam War didn't affect me as much, but the war between Cambodia and Vietnam affected me a whole lot more because being near the border town and living by the Mekong River, we saw the atrocities of Pol Pot's, the killing fields, basically, coming down that river every single day.
I saw a speech you gave getting ready for today, and you talked about the fact that your mother would say, "Don't go to the river."
Yeah.
And you did anyway.
Yes.
Like most kids would do. Mom says, "Don't do it."
Exactly.
You did it, but what did you see? What happened when you went down there?
Well, my parents tried to shield us. We came from a very wealthy family, so my parents tried to shield us from a lot of things, and there are times where the atrocity of Pol Pot's body parts coming.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. Y'all, listen, if Phone lines are open. Text lines are open. 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Text it or call it. Same number for both. Give me your feedback. Some of y'all are texting in already. I'll get those momentarily. Let me first, though, jump on the message wagon here with Stan McDonald. Indeed, attorney Stan McDonald is a law firm partner at Wilmer and Lee, a 30-year veteran in the practice of law. Stan McDonald, I like to always say, is this able to not only handle your legal needs, but y'all, he's been in the mix, in the fights, in the trenches for all the conservative policies and politics that right-side ruffians care about for like years. But yeah, attorney Stan McDonald, he has represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years, knows how to represent you in any local, state, or federal court. I like to say if Stan's on your side, you're going to have no greater friend. Likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So that being said, y'all need an attorney in North Alabama? Let me recommend to you my friend, Stan McDonald, the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, and here's his phone number. 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. Tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. I would appreciate it. And no representation made the quality legal services are bad at all. No, I wouldn't have a bad lawyer being advertised on my show. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Text lines. Allie from Athens says, Alice through the looking glass is the perfect description of our recent past, and I'm glad for the freight train. Thank you, Allie. Thank you for picking up all my analogies. Joe in Tennessee says the service by those on the right is nullifying the idiocy from those on the left. Yes, Joe C. in Tennessee, that is correct, sir. That is the goal. And we have more to do, y'all. I mean, it's amazing. If you think back about it, it's amazing how much the left did in 4 years. I mean, they talk about us moving, like Trump moving at, the speed of Trump is what I call it. But think about the manner and means and the methods by which the left just foisted the culture wars on us for the last 4 years.
And a lot of it was the lack of what the left was doing. Look at the border and, look at other things of just coming in day one and wiping out everything that Trump did with, stuff like the Keystone Pipeline, things like that. And then just doing nothing after that, essentially. But then, of course, the millennial staffers in the Biden administration did a lot with promoting, Pride Day at the White House, all this other stuff. So it was a mix of millennials doing a bunch and then the commander in chief doing nothing, I would say.
You don't think it was Gen Z? Had to be millennials?
There maybe was a couple. Spice a few in there, yeah.
All right, we got a whole lot on tap. You guys stay tuned. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We will be right back.
Mekong River. And I'm not talking about one or two bodies. I'm talking about a wave of hundreds and thousands of bodies.
And you saw this as a kid.
I went, my mom and dad was like, don't go to the river, don't go look out to the river. And other kids, of course, me, and also dragging some of my siblings and cousins and go look at it. And I remember seeing bloated bodies, headless heads and hands and limbs, and just coming down, floating down the river, and watching some of my relatives taking long sticks and push the body parts back into the channel so that it would, keep on floating down that main channel. And I remember the smell of it. It's just horrific.
There are... I've sort of said sometimes that memories are sometimes keyed more by smell than they are by visual.
Yeah.
Smells come back to you. They bring things back.
Absolutely. Believe it or not, the blooms of the pear trees in spring bring that memories back.
Really?
There's a smell of it that it's remind me of the bodies that I smell as 8-9 years old. Wow. And I remember the other 2 weeks ago when I was given talk to a high school kids, and another memory came back of that time. I remember when the water received from the Mekong River. Sometimes my family would let me play. Me and my siblings and cousin. I have 1,000 cousins in Vietnam. I mean, we're all related somehow. So we would play by the river, out there with the water about waist deep. And us playing in that river somehow, I remember seeing a hand,
Oh, wow.
And we were all just screaming to get out of the water. And when you start seeing one or two body parts, there's more coming. So, I mean, within hours, you start seeing more bodies coming in. That's the Cambodian, that's Pol Pot's. Their communism, I think, is more evil than even Vietnam, because if you wear glasses, they will kill you. That's represent intellectual. They're not going to have it. If you can read a book, they will kill you.
And I remember hearing too that one of the things that was so amazing was how they would have children turn against parents, and
Yes.
and parents even turn against children.
Yes.
And it was self-preservation meant turning someone in, and that was how you protected yourself. And
Yes.
what a horrible life.
And I mean, to today, there are homes in my hometown where blood stains on the wall still. There's still blood stains on the wall because where the Khmerich would come in at night, and they would try to extract information from the locals, and they would take babies from mother's arms and take the baby and smash the baby against the wall. And there's still blood stains on those walls to today.
Well, I don't think Americans sometimes realize the blessing of living in a country where war does not touch the ground we walk on.
Right. Yeah.
Having said that, so you lived through some amazing events in your home country, your original your country of your origin. What was it like when the communists took over the country? I mean, you went from, and you said your family was fairly wealthy. What did your family do, by the way? How did
Yeah. So my great-grandparents, my paternal great-grandparents, escaped the communist part of China.
Okay.
So he and my great-grandmother escaped communist part of China and settled in the Mekong Delta. He was a Eastern medicine man, so that was his profession. So they started a family there. Because we live by the Mekong River, which the Mekong River is a gateway to all the commodities, coming down that river from Cambodia and other part of the...
Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This one, goes from like Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the line from there to what we call, once again, Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia, Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio. Then there's all y'all out there in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web, logging in, live streaming the show every single day, looking inside the studio, seeing what we're up to. And oh, by the way, you can do it on Facebook and Rumble and X and YouTube and our website, rightsidemedia.org. And then all you podcasters that catch it after the fact. I say all that to say, we do see, we can tell. We know where you guys are picking up the show, and wherever you pick it up, it means the world to us. Thank you very much for being a part of our lives, and we appreciate you more than you possibly know. All right, let me jump on in here where I can. I get a quick text from John from Huntsville. Says, Phil, spectacular monologue. Thank you. Also, did you hear that 4 people have been arrested in a deadly New York City park shooting? I had not. He said, by the way, JP, did you see golfer Tommy Fleetwood dominate the field with the entire FedEx Cup, and it just happened to be his first ever PGA Tour?
That was pretty nuts. First ever PGA Tour win ended up being the FedEx Cup Championship. So he finally got the monkey off of his back.
But he's been around for a while, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been around for quite a bit. I think he actually had the record of current players with most top 10 finishes without a win. So he finally got the win. I'm ready for the Ryder Cup, though. We got it later. That's actually, I think it's next month, September, Ryder Cup.
You're ready for whatever next sports is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
All right. Hey, listen, I'm going to jump on into the topic. Text in if you want to. But the first topic, the first dipper here is laws and executive orders. Laws and executive orders. Y'all, we got some stuff going on. Now, first of all, let me just say this. We have a fight for those who enforce and preside over the application of the laws. I'm not talking about law enforcement in terms of police. I'm talking about the U.S. attorneys and the federal district court judges. The way that process works, there's a story that just broke a little while ago, and I got to bring it up. The way that process works is typically the U.S. attorneys and the federal district court judges from each state are, kind of tapped by the senators of that state. It's sort of it's like a courtesy or a privilege even for them to bring to the president's attention, who can't be everywhere, who they believe in their state should be able to accept a nomination to serve in one of those very unique capacities. Like in Alabama, there are 3 U.S. attorneys. There are multiple federal district court judges. The federal district court judges, by the way, they serve for life for good cause. We just had 3 names, I believe, just got sent to Donald Trump, who agreed that all 3 should then be appointed or nominated. Then they are confirmed by the Senate. So part of the reason why the senators typically refer the names to the president is because they will then be the ones voting on them when they come to the floor. Oftentimes, the courtesy is if that state's senators have said, these are who we want, most people get out of the way and they let it go, and they will work with that. But then there's TDS. There's Trump derangement syndrome. So right now, Democrats are doing all they can to jimmy up the process and fight back. They don't want in Democrat blue states for Trump to have an opportunity for appointment. They only want to use what they call their blue slip process. And the blue slip is, here's who we approve. And it's like basically saying, if you send in a name that's not who we want, we're not going to do it. Well, that's what the vote on the floor is typically for. But the courtesy for about 100 years has been to honor the blue slip. Except what we're seeing right now is TDS being what it is. Trump can't get anybody appointed in certain places. Look at what just happened with Alina Habba. If you're not familiar, Alina Habba was a member of Trump's legal team. She's an accomplished jurist of her own. She has been, practicing law for a number of years. I believe she was a prosecutor. I'm not positive. But Alina Habba was appointed by Trump to be the acting U.S. attorney in New Jersey, and then to begin working that process towards a possible confirmation. Except that I've never seen this happen before. The judges, the Democrat appointed judges in New Jersey, decided that they had the authority to have her removed, because typically what happens is, if you haven't gone through confirmation yet, you can only serve in that capacity for upwards of 120 days. 120 days. Well, that flies by. 120 days, 4 months. That's all you get if you're not confirmed. Well, Alina Habba, the courts have said, we don't want her. We want somebody else. In fact, what you also saw was Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker were actually working against her because they don't want a Trump pick in their blue state. Okay. What's happening right now, though, is Republican Chuck Grassley. Oh, okay. Republican Chuck Grassley is in charge of Senate Judiciary. He is asking for the president to please continue honoring what's known as the blue slip tradition that I mentioned a moment ago. Trump is now saying, you know what? I'm going to be taking this to court, because in his words, the Constitution affords him the right to make the appointment. The Senate can then choose to vote it up or down on the floor of the Senate, but they can't just stand in the way of not even giving it a committee hearing. Well, so the blue slip process, there's a story that broke on Fox News right before the show started. I just pulled it up real quick, so I was looking at it. But Trump says, we are filing a lawsuit on this blue slipping. He says, blue slips make it impossible for me as a president to appoint a judge or a U.S. attorney because they have a gentleman's agreement that's 100 years old. By the way, it's a gentleman's agreement. It's not a codified law. He may have a case here. This is going to be interesting. If he actually goes before the Supreme Court and they say there's nothing in the law that says that blue slip can act as an impediment, well, then he has just bucked 100 years of tradition both Republicans and Democrats rely on. At the same time, I think he's also right. He's got the ability to say there's the law and there's tradition. And sometimes the law must outweigh tradition. And that's where we stand on that. It's crazy to watch. But right now, in fact, I saw a stat. Maybe it's in this article I've got right here. Hang on one second. I've got something in my hands. Wait. Let me weed through my stack because I started off, technically, I went down to the bottom of my stack and I'm working my way back up to the top. We've got right now, Trump is at war, basically, with Grassley. This is going to be rough. He said Grassley is defending a century-old process, but saying that he views it as a norm worth preserving for balance and for state input. In other words, the senators want to know they have input. I get that. I understand that. Put simply, the president of the United States will never be permitted to appoint the person of his choice because of an ancient and probably unconstitutional custom, said Trump. Look at this. In his first term, Trump 1.0, he was able to appoint 234 federal judges, 3 Supreme Court justices, 54 appellate court judges. But this term, he's only been able to get 5 people confirmed in 7 months. That's got to change. Have you seen what happened with the courts in recent years? Think about what it meant to the world of conservative policy and people who on the right that we got Roe v. Wade overturned. Think about what it meant that we had any number of things put in place that preserve constitutional freedoms and clarified rights under the laws from a conservative viewpoint because Trump was able to get those judges on the court. And then think about the fact that U.S. District Court judges around the nation have been impeding anything conservative. Do we really want to jeopardize the ability to get U.S. attorneys and federal district court judges into place while we have the opportunity before we lose a potential majority in the midterms? I don't think we're going to lose the majority, but you never know. These first 2 years are critical. And I can just tell you as a practicing attorney, it means the world to know that a bench is in place that loves the Constitution and preserves things from a strict constructionist standpoint. And even if I wasn't an attorney, I would tell you that. But here we are. And right now, Trump's being impeded. In fact, he is actually at war with Chuck Grassley, who is usually one of his allies. Because Grassley is saying, I'm going to continue preserving the blue slip process. It's our Senate tradition. And Trump's saying, that's not the law. What you got, man?
Well, it's Chuck Grassley is a Republican, right? It's the Republicans who the same old, got to do things this way. I think that is what's contributed to Republicans snatching defeat from the jaws of victory so much. They don't have a get after it attitude of trying to win. And I hate to say politics from the standpoint of winning, but that's how, because the Democrats, that's how they operate. That's their mindset of, do what it takes to win. But it's the Republicans that have been there for probably too long. And it's like, oh, this is how things are done. It's like, well, that's then the way things are done, that's kind of what's gotten us here in the first place.
Yeah. If we think for a second that Chuck Schumer would have had that measure of grace, or the Adam Schiff would have had that measure of grace. Yeah. I mean,
look at Pelosi literally created the reconciliation bill, that process that we used this past time, because that's the Democrats are thinking that way. So yeah, I'm tired of the Republicans who think of, this is how things are done. We got to keep doing it this way.
Well, I think that Trump, if he actually does file an emergency appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, they may weigh in on this because it truly is, constitutionally speaking, his right to appoint and the Senate's right to confirm or not confirm. And if he can't even get the process to go forward because they're honoring something that is not the law.
A gentleman's agreement.
It's a blue slip tradition. I get it. It's 100 years, but you know what? It's still not the law. You guys could have made it the law any number of times and it hasn't been done. They just want to do tradition. And I am fine with traditions until you realize they actually impede progress and they're not the law. If they want to pass a law that says this is the way it will be from now on, well, okay, we'll deal with it.
Yeah. 5 judges in 7 months is crazy.
Yeah.
It takes that long for Trump to get his agenda in place.
Yeah. By the way, the ability for law and order to be preserved is not just what's happening with Trump's ability to have judges and U.S. attorneys in place. We've also got what Trump's been doing with law and order on the streets. And I got some stats for you after the break that I'll tell you about that are just epic. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
Trade route. So my paternal grandfather started buying commodities that came down that river, buy and sell, and he started that business. And he has 10 kids. My father is the third child.
Okay.
And everybody worked in my grandfather's business, and so he started that business. And I mean, we dealt with everything. We bought silk coming down that river. We had a bakery at one point. We had a Fanta bottling company, believe it or not.
Really?
In Vietnam, in South Vietnam at one point. So we were one of the richest family in our province.
So what happened when the communists came? Because
when the
wealth is not usually allowed in the communist countries.
Not at all. They came in and they basically overnight, with a stroke of a pen, they nationalized all of our businesses and take away and close our bank account, froze our bank account, start take over some of our homes and our land. And they were allow my family to have only the bakery. And even with that, they tell us what to produce, how to produce it, and even at what price. So we went from having one of the richest family in the province to being just like everybody. I mean, that's what communism and socialism is, right?
Yeah.
They basically, their things is take from the rich to help the poor. Sounds great. Sounds really, who does not want everybody to be equal, but it doesn't work that way. All I did was take away the incentive of people really working, want to do better for themselves, and the rich become poorer and the poor stay in poverty.
Yeah, communism crushes the spirit, doesn't it?
It is. And communism it's a religion. It is. It's a religion.
Was it so when they took over everything, when the communists took over the country, and the South Vietnamese government fell, did they literally come in, aside from the stroke of the pen and the things that they took? Did they come in and did they micromanage your life? I mean, did they actually walk into the house and tell you, here's how things are going to be?
Yeah, we had a communist family came in and lived with us.
Live with you?
Just to watch us.
They put watchers in your house?
Yes. To make sure we didn't hide anything from them, because we were rich. And basically we went from, okay, I'll give you an example. Before, when you have aches and pain, you can go to the market and get a bottle of aspirin.
Right.
When the communists took over, commodities and everything was so scarce that you can only buy one aspirin. And also because that's all people could also afford.
Wow.
A pregnant mom can only buy one multivitamin. You can't just go buy enough rice and soy sauce and things like that for your family, or fabrics and threads to make clothes. You have to stand in line to buy, those things.
Everything rationed, everything parceled
Everything rationed, yes. And you can stand in line for hours sometime, and there's nothing. And by the time they get to you, there's nothing left, and you have to come back the next day to get back in line.
Meanwhile, the communist leaders got fat.
They
sure.
got fat. Yes.
Yeah,
they
sure.
took over all the people homes and moved in, and even today, all the millionaires in Vietnam, you betcha, they have a communist tie to them.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this is a turbulent time. How long after the fall of Saigon did you remain in the country? You personally remain in the country?
4 years.
So 4 years, so
And I think
1979-ish.
1979's 2 weeks after my birthday, which is in May, it's when my sister and I escaped Vietnam.
Okay, well, tell me about that, because I know in one of the speeches of yours that I reviewed, it wasn't your whole family that came out.
Right.
It was just a few, and your parents had to make a choice, basically.
Yes.
So what was that family discussion like to decide who leaves and who stays?
Gosh, I remember that night very clearly. I had several aunts and uncles. They were able to afford to pay passages, and when I say pay passages to leave Vietnam, meant that you're paying the official to look this way so you can escape
This
this
is
way.
a bribe.
It's a bribe. So if you get caught, they can throw you in jail. So basically, you bribe the government to leave. So I had a few aunts and uncles that had signed up to leave Vietnam on this riverboat.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Man, bulletproof influence. That's what it is. Bulletproof influence, my friends. Hey, by the way, I gotta go ahead and give you fair warning. So I have been called away for business out of town today, and that meant I have no choice but to bolt out of the studio halfway through the show. So please be aware, unplanned, unscripted, but sometimes things happen in life. And I will be bugging out of here halfway through hour number 2. JP will be plugging in a best of from a recent show to finish things out with you. So if you hear something that sounds familiar, like or somewhere around hour number 3, that's because it probably is. So anyway, thank you for your indulgence. I appreciate that, but that's just part of life as we know it sometimes. I got to tell you, there's a story that broke. So I have a piece in my hands right now, townhall.com. And it's already outdated. Townhall.com dateline yesterday, already outdated. It's outdated by a story that came up on Fox just a few minutes ago. So I'm sitting here looking at the story on Fox going, well, I guess I'll rattle the paper and say some things that came out of the Town Hall article. But let's talk about laws and executive orders. So Donald Trump took the unusual step of deciding that the Home Rule Act of 1973 for Washington, D.C., Section 740, everyone agrees it actually does. It gives the President of the United States the authority to step into enforcing the laws and policing the streets in our nation's capital. It's a part of it. Before 1973, D.C. didn't even have home rule. They didn't have a mayor. They didn't have a city council. They could not make their own local ordinances and laws. It was all run by Congress, cared for by the presidency, federalized in every way. It became a sort of a freestanding entity, almost like a quasi-state in 1973 with the Home Rule Act. Democrats would love to make it a state because it's packed full of Democrats. It's not going to happen. But that being said, Trump exercised his rights under the law for the first time anyone's ever done it, to go in there and begin cleaning up the crime in our nation's capital. Y'all, we are watching right now as when Trump declared a crime emergency in D.C., he called in National Guard. He augmented them with He had everything from FBI, ICE, ATF, U.S. Marshals, saturating the streets. The police union in D.C. has been thanking the Trump administration, thanking them for being a part of this. And violent crime has dropped dramatically. Like not a little bit. Like DC is one of the murder capitals of our nation. The article I have in my hands is already outdated. The one on Fox says we are now in the 12th day since Trump began the crackdown. No homicides in 12 days. No homicides in 12 days. We were talking off the air. Isn't it horrible to be able to say, what a great thing? But like you don't want to brag about the metric because it really shows you how bad things are.
Yeah, when I first saw that stat, I was like, okay, is that really something to brag? But then I realized that there was homicides weekly in DC.
There were, daily sometimes.
Daily, yeah.
I mean, when you got 300 plus homicides a year and only 365 days a year, I mean, come on. So yes, this is a big, big deal. The article here on Town Hall says it's what happens when leadership stops making excuses and starts enforcing the laws. So yeah, we are looking right now at the crime in D.C. is plummeting. Another story I've got here that's also from Town Hall that has not gotten outdated says that not only are the National Guard members now deployed, but they have also been now armed. So National Guardsmen have now been authorized by the Department of Defense to carry their service weapons, whether it be their sidearms or M4 rifles, and it's now considered symbolic. They are carrying their weapons on the streets as they deter crime. National Guardsmen, it says, are not there for optics. They're there to support law enforcement, protect key infrastructure, and deter criminal activity that has turned too many American cities into cautionary tales. So it goes on to say that the success of what we're seeing right now is leading President Trump to believe that he needs to repeat the model in other places. And here's where it's going to get dicey. Can he do that? I don't know. We'll have U.S. Attorney Jay Town on the line with us here in a few minutes and see if we can get that into the conversation. But yeah, it's a dicey situation right now for the president to say this. But keep in mind, he did send National Guard to California, to Los Angeles, to stop the riots that were going on. If he declares an emergency, then under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, I believe it's Title 10, maybe it's Title 18. Title 10, I believe it is, of the U.S. Code, he is allowed then to augment local law enforcement with National Guard if the local leadership is not otherwise taking the necessary action to stop what he considers to be an emergency. Is he going to do it? I don't know. He says the next one on the list is Chicago. Mayor Brandon Johnson is already using it as a fundraising tool. Brandon Johnson is an inept mayor who is ruining his city. But yeah, more to come on that. We'll see. Coming up in a minute, we'll have former U.S. Attorney Jay Town on the line with us. But before I do that, though, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and just tell you all of you, like maybe some applause is going to be necessary, that my understanding is that Jeff from Indiana is having an anniversary today. I saw it on social media. So Jeff and Carolyn, blessings on you. Many, many more to come. Hope you're doing well. And I hope you're going to get home in time to take her out somewhere nice, or maybe you already did. But the bottom line is, Jeff Rowe from Indiana, you are a part of this show's family, and we wish you a many, many years to go. Lots of anniversaries to come. All right, you guys, stay tuned. U.S. Attorney Jay Town joining us. We will be right back.
And they're going to Australia because they felt Australia is the safest place to be. And also we have a few cousins that already left Vietnam before the fall of Saigon, and they settled in Australia.
Okay.
So overnight, one of my aunt came home and told my dad that there may be some empty spots on this refugee boat and that we should take the empty spots. And there's 8 of us in the family, my parents and 6 kids, me being the oldest.
Okay. How old were you at the time?
I was 12.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And basically, my parents have only a few hours to decide this. And my parents, of course, at this time in 1979, everybody was struggling. We don't have a whole lot of money. And I know it was a lot of sacrifice for my parents to even, bribe someone to the official for me and my sister to leave. And so, yeah, there were only enough money for just 2 passages. And so they picked me, being the oldest. I was 12. And my next sister, she was she's a little bit over 10 years old, to leave with my aunt and uncle. And my parent has to make the decision overnight. I mean, I just can't imagine. No. The pain and the...
Do you remember them telling you?
I remember, yeah. And I remember my parents said to trust them, and I think, I, being the oldest of 6, I'm pretty bratty. It's kind of like a bratty, and also kind of...
Were you headstrong?
Yeah. I mean, I can fight any boys in my neighborhood growing up. I mean, I would have like a spitting contest with the boys. And anyway, so I just felt like at that time, I felt like I'm trusting my parents. And even though now looking back, I can't even imagine them having to make this decision. No. Because, honestly, they don't know if they will ever see me and my sister again. They don't know that, right? But they have to make this hard decision because they knew that at least 2 of their kids may have a better life elsewhere than Vietnam.
Well, I mean, that's huge. And I've raised kids, and I understand you've raised your kids. And I cannot imagine at 10 and 12 years old sending them away and knowing I
Yeah.
never see them again.
I remember saying,
what an amazing thing.
saying goodbye to my little brother. He was 2 years old, and that night we slept in a mosquito enclosement. That's how we sleep in Vietnam.
Under
I remember
a net?
a net, mosquito net. I remember hugging my brother and one of my sister, 2 of the other sister. It was summer, so there was no school. So 2 of the sisters did visit some of our relatives elsewhere. I remember thinking, this is maybe the last time I get to see 2 of my siblings and my parents. And I just, that morning when my dad took my sister and I to the coast to leave on this river boat,
Yeah.
looking back and see my mom there, not sure if I ever see her again. That was hard.
Oh, well, I can't even imagine. I also can't imagine not just your side, but I can't even imagine the parent side of it. But so you got on the boat though, and you're on there, and you do have some family ties on the boat with you. You have an aunt, uncle, and some cousins.
Yes.
How many total?
There was 2 sets of aunts and uncles and
Okay.
2 of their kids.
Okay. And then how many people total on the boat? I mean, is this
It's about 400.
oh, this is not a small boat.
No, well, no, it's a small boat, but they fit as many people in there as they can, and there was not room. There was only room just to sit. There's not even room to lay down. And I remember one time my sister and I had our backs together just to sleep because there's no room to lay down.
All right. I heard you speak. This was not a smooth voyage, this boat. And you were actually at some point intercepted by pirates. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. How'd that go?
Well, not very well. But, well, first of all, the South China Sea was full of pirates at that time. And because they knew that the Vietnamese refugees carry gold and jewelries with them to start their lives elsewhere, right?
Right.
So piracy is, I think it was estimated that a quarter of the refugee boat people was robbed by pirates.
Wow.
And they're from Thailand and other, Malaysia, Indonesia, and all that. But yeah, we were, after several days at sea, we actually landed in Malaysia.
So you went ashore in Malaysia, or is this before the pirates or after?
This is okay. So this part may be a little bit sensitive,
Okay.
in a way, but this is the truth. We landed in Malaysia, and we thought we were going to be rescued. Well, the Malaysian Navy came out, and they tied our boat to their boat, and they pulled us out to the sea.
Oh, wow.
And we thought we were getting pulled to somewhere like a refugee camp or something. They pulled us out to sea where there's no people that can see them. They robbed us.
The Malaysian Navy.
Yes, because they were in uniform.
Wow. Wow. Did you have any personal items of your own stolen? Were there any people that were taken? I mean,
Yeah,
I would
well,
imagine human trafficking is also an issue and sometimes in this.
that would have happened, I believe, with all my heart. But if it wasn't for the grace of God, God intervened during this situation because a huge storm was brewing. So they started robbing people, and they found a bunch. They came over with metal detector,
Yeah.
and the captain of our boat has hidden some gold on the boat, and they found the gold. and it was a lot of gold. And so they were busy doing that. And then they make people strip off their jewelry. And I remember my mom had sent some jewelry with us.
It was the international, no, yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, I am pleased to welcome on somebody who's been on the show a number of times. Jay Town is a former U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Alabama. He's got a career in prosecution. He's also got, by the way, a career as a U.S. Marine Corps Judge Advocate General. Degrees from Notre Dame, Seton Hall University School of Law. And by the way, he's also got a new gig. He's a legal analyst for Newsmax as of now. So without further ado, let me stop talking and welcome on Jay Town. Hey, man, how you doing?
Hey, Phil, how are you? Believe it or not, I also left Gray Analytics for Radiance Technologies, where I'm the Chief Compliance Officer now. So things are busy right now, Phil, and I know you know that feeling.
I do. In fact, every once in a while, I wonder what it'd be like to have one job. That'd be cool. But it's been like my entire adult life. It's like, okay, which full-time job am I in at this particular moment? But anyway, hey, listen, man, you've got some experience enforcing the law, obviously, as a prosecutor in Madison County, and then as the U.S. attorney for the Northern District. I'm watching what's happening in our nation's capital, Washington D.C., and like right now, it's a heck of a thing to have to brag on something like this, but we just went 12 days without a homicide.
Yep.
Talk to me about what your thoughts are on this crackdown by the Trump administration.
Yeah, this just goes to show you that if you want to reduce crime, you can have all the ice cream socials and social workers that you want to, but those are sort of auxiliary methods. Primary methods are removing criminals from the street and surging law enforcement resources of any type, federal, local, county. There's no county for DC, but any amount of law enforcement resources, to include the National Guard that helps federal law enforcement and locals do their job. That's how you reduce crime. And it's tried and true. It's proven all over the country. It just takes the will of man. One of the things, Phil, that I want to share with your audience is that, over for 12 days, we haven't had a homicide in Washington, D.C. Over the last 4 years under Biden, the District of Columbia averaged over 200 murders per year, per 100,000, 200 murders a year. They averaged around 30 to 35 per 100,000 persons in the district. The national homicide average is between 5 and 6. So there's 6 or 7 times the national average in Washington, D.C. If Washington, D.C. were a state, it'd be the motor vehicle theft capital of the world.
Wow.
Its total crime is consistently twice the national average. They led the nation in violent crime in 2023. Under Biden nationwide, murder, the 2021, 22, 23 were the 3 most murderous years in decades, like 50 years.
You can see that
like
in Birmingham statistics showed that. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah, and then I'll leave this, and this is the real kicker here. If you're talking about Chicago, by the way, Chicago last year led the nation. This is according to recent FBI data. They had 461 total murders. That's one every, 19 hours or so. And that led the nation in raw total of murders. Now, in the top 25 most murderous cities in the country, every one of them, except for one, has a Democrat mayor. None of them have a Republican district attorney. And the one that has a mayor in Dallas, he just recently in 2023 became a Republican, he was a Democrat for his entire life.
Wow.
So if you think the policies of liberal Democrats as they relate to crime, especially violent crime, work, well, the statistics say something else.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, listen, I think that anybody with a conscience can look at what's happening in DC and say it's working. And I don't think people are really protesting the idea that there's less crime, but for some reason this has become like, a political football. Oh, it's totalitarianism. Oh, it's going to be the end of, freedoms as we know it. It's ridiculous. But the police union is loving it. The people of the city are loving it. And, the crime stats are proving it. But now he's talking about taking it to other places. And I think that'll be a different dynamic, but he proved that it can be done in Los Angeles most recently. So what are your thoughts on like Chicago being next or whatever?
Well, we saw sort of a preview of DC, believe it or not, Phil, in what happened in LA with the ICE arrests that were surged to Los Angeles. It's the same formula. It's different in the sense that DC is a federal district, and Trump is the commander in chief of the National Guard of that district. So it's very different. He doesn't have to seek governor permission. He's not going to get that from the governors of Massachusetts or New York or Illinois or California. But he can declare an emergency, and and as was deemed in LA, it was upheld. They tried to challenge it in the court. They lost eventually after we got past the liberal judges. Now, look, it is hard for me to understand why anyone, when you can surge FBI, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals, the Park Police, any federal agency, HSI, into my town to help rid me of 461 murders last year, right? It's the most murderous city in the last 15 years. And you're trying to tell me, and that's with Philadelphia still existing, right? Larry Krasner and those. No, don't come here. Do not come here. Free DC, free Chicago. And then they get in their BMWs and they drive back to their suburban homes. And that's true. Yeah, I asked on Newsmax the other night that, they showed the video of the protesters, and I'm like, I wonder if they drove back to Arlington or Bethesda after the protest.
No doubt.
They're not, these people might work there. They have a relative who does, or they used to. But why would you not want help? When did our side of the battlefield in law enforcement, in crime reduction, become too crowded? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. It's like if I'm raking leaves in my lawn, and Phil shows up with 20 people, and I say, no, I'm doing my own lawn because I am independent. No, everybody grab a rake. Let's go. We'll be done in 10 minutes.
Just so you know, I'm bringing the leaf blower. I'm bringing the blower, just so you know. Just
That's right. Okay, fair enough. But either way, it's never too crowded. And
it's not.
That is where the modern liberal misses this issue, doesn't follow it off, whiffs it completely, because the people that live there, who actually live there, feel safer. And when you feel safer, when you're averaging a murder every 19 hours in your city, and then suddenly it's every 2 days or every 3 days or not for 12 days, you notice that. There's a reason why that happened. Bad guys still exist. They still live in that city, but they're not coming out at night because they know if they do what they do, they're going to get caught.
So let me ask you. Let me ask you this: on the Chicago, the New York, the wherever other than DC, am I correct in saying? I mean, I know for a fact that he has Title 10 authority to activate National Guard troops to preserve life, limb, or property. But to go into those cities, he would have to have an entirely different set of circumstances, whether it be an invitation or a declaration of an emergency. Am I right in saying that?
Well, I mean, look, he can surge federal resources anywhere he wants to, right? So he doesn't need any permissions whatsoever. But if you want to take the National Guard, so when I say federal resources, I meant law enforcement, forgive me. So anyone with a federal badge can go into any city in this country and do whatever they want and operate with impunity. They might not get cooperation from the locals, but they can go in there and operate. To bring in the Guard, he would have to issue an executive order based on crime. And look, he laid it out today. Chicago's crime problem. I got this from the White House a few hours ago. And there's a bunch of facts, but I'm just going to give you one stat that is staggering.
All right.
Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, since January 1st, arrests have been made in just 16.2% of them.
God, that's so ridiculous. That's unbelievably bad.
Differently, 84% of 150,000 crimes haven't solved them yet in Chicago. You guys are doing a great job, Brandon. Mayor, you guys are doing great. And the governor, don't come here. Chicago's a safe place. By what measure? That you didn't die when you went downtown? Is that the bar we're at?
I'm looking at, I got two screens on the wall here in the studio. On the left, I have CNN, where Governor Pritzker is now announcing that he is taking issue with Trump talking about crime in Chicago. And on the right, on Fox, I have a resident of Chicago saying crime is awful and we need help. So,
yeah, well, and I can tell you that Governor Pritzker doesn't live in any area of the country as a billionaire. That any travels with an entourage of security, and he did before he became governor. So it is absurd to listen to these, liberal fat guys get on TV and say how safe place. I mean, there's nothing to see here. It's Captain Renault from Casablanca. I'm shocked. And so it really, I mean, go ahead. I mean, I hope they put him on every day, every talk show, every news channel. Have him come on and say how safe LA, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Houston, New York, Dallas, Baltimore, all these cities. Go ahead and tell us. Baltimore, Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, was on TV this morning talking about how safe Baltimore was.
Yeah.
Baltimore is ranked 8th in the country for homicides, and it's in the top 5 per 100,000.
The gaslighting is shameless. About? Shameless gaslighting. Yeah. Hey, let me ask something. I got about 3 minutes left with you, brother. So let me ask you. The other part of law enforcement, of course, are those who prosecute or those who preside over the prosecutions of crimes on the federal side. And that process, you know quite well. And Trump right now is just declared, right before I went on the air, that he will be filing suit, if necessary, asking for a Supreme Court ruling as to whether or not his constitutional authorities are being impeded to get judges and U.S. attorneys in place because the Senate has their blue slip process, which I talked about earlier on the show. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, really what I think President Trump, so yes, he can do that. And I think really what he's going to attack is the constitutionality of the Vacancy Act.
Right.
Because I was a presidentially appointed, Senate confirmed U.S. attorney. And the issue you're discussing is if the blue slip process is where the senators from the home state agree that J-Town should be the U.S. attorney, send it to the Senate, they vote yes, and the president is happy with it, and he signs my warrant, and I become the U.S. attorney. That's not happening. There are less than a half dozen U.S. attorneys, and I don't even think there's that many that have gone through confirmation in this country, and we are almost a year into Trump's term, his final term, and that's absurd. And the Vacancy Act says that when there's a vacancy for the U.S. attorney job, that the AG can appoint someone. Or the courts can appoint someone, but for X amount of days. Well, that's absurd. I can't put in my executive agency who's in charge of my executive agency as a chief executive officer of that executive agency. That's insane.
Yeah.
And I've always thought it was a ridiculous law. It was some weird compromise that came out of, I don't know if it came out of the Watergate era or what, but I do believe it intrudes upon Article 2 powers. The president gets to pick his team. He does. He's the GM, the head coach, and the offensive coordinator all at the same time. And it's ridiculous to think that he can't do that. So let's hope that they get moving. But this is the slowest I've ever seen it. I was the first U.S. attorney sworn in, and then there were 30 after me about a month later. And it was before the point that we are at right now.
Wow. Well, yeah. The logjam's got to break. And then you've got things like what's happening with Alina Habbo, where the judges have decided that she needs to be taken back off the job. And I guess they're citing the law, saying she's surpassed her short-term candidacy for the position as an acting, or an interim. But it's a logjam that's got to break sometime soon, because we've seen what happens when you have a conservative bench. It makes a difference. And
it does.
All right, brother. Listen, I got to leave it there, but thank you very much. Congratulations on the Newsmax gig and your work with Radiance. And at the same time, we'll have you back on again sometime soon.
Can't wait. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, buddy. See you. All right, we're taking a break. We'll take that break. We'll come right back. Text me if you want to. The number is 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
Old bracelets and necklaces and stuff, and my sister and I actually strip them off of us, and we would stuff them in our mouths just
wow.
to hide from the pirates. So that was saved. But they found a lot of gold from the captain that they didn't want to bother with the people too much. And even while they were robbing us, there was this huge storm brewing really fast, and they wanted to get out of there. So
Sometimes God calms a storm, and sometimes
exactly,
He brings a storm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the storm was brewing really fast, and they were trying to rob us really fast, so they didn't search everybody.
So you got to keep your
So my family got to keep ours.
wow.
Jewelry. But that storm got them out of there. And their plan was they disabled our engine and threw some of our provision overboard. So they think that storm was going to capsize our
They
little
disabled
boat.
the engine, left the boat just adrift.
Yes.
Okay.
So they were hoping that storm would capsize our boat and kill all of us. So they don't have to do the killing themselves. We believe that is their plan. But that storm, if they didn't capsize our boat, that they were hoping we would be floating in the South China Sea, starved to death because they disabled our engine. We couldn't go anywhere.
How long did you stay adrift after that?
Several days.
Wow.
Several days adrift. And that storm actually carried us to Indonesia, closer to Indonesia.
Which is where you wound up
Yes.
in a refugee camp, am I right?
Yes, yes. So the Indonesians saw a boat and they came out and they helped us.
That's an
and
amazing circumstance.
yeah, exactly. God just intervened.
How about that?
I believe that with all my heart.
Well, I believe it with you. So you got to Indonesia, and at this point, I mean, this has been a journey already, but you're not through.
No.
And now you go into a refugee camp that I saw one of your speeches, and it sounds like it was not really a well-established camp when you first got there. It was more like survival. Am I right?
Right. We were the second boat that arrived on that refugee camp.
Okay.
There was one other Vietnamese refugee boat there already. But every day, more refugees arrive on this island, and there was nothing on this island. There were not even shelter for us. Food was really scarce. There was still a little bit food that we brought with us, and we ate what we had. And then we start eating things that we can found on the island. If you're lucky, you can catch fish out of the sea. But we ended up, I remember eating things like snails and trying to find leaves and barks and grubs that I ended up eating.
I heard you say on one speech that you could go on the show Survivor and do really well.
Yes, I think I can. I really can.
There's big money in that. You need to, well, but as a kid, so you're only 12 years old, and now you're eating grubs and making your own shelter, and you and your extended family are among how many people in this camp?
Well, like I said, thousands of people. I think it was
Oh, wow.
estimated about almost half a million refugee by the time that camp closed.
Wow. Who was running the camp? Was there an organized agency that was helping assist the camp, or was it just makeshift?
Not yet. We were there for several months before the international organization found that there were refugees there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what organizations wound up coming to your aid at some point?
It was CARE International
CARE, yeah.
and World Vision,
Okay.
the Catholic, I think some Catholic church
Okay.
organization.
Red Cross or UN, did they show up at all?
I can't remember. I just remember CARE, CARE, and I remember World Vision.
Well, so
Oh, and I do remember there was a ship that parked right outside of our camp eventually after several months, and it's called Sea Swift or something like
was it
that.
one of the Mercy ships at a
One
hospital?
it's kind of like the Mercy ship because there were doctor and nurses that come in every day from the ship, and they made a little hut-like, little makeshift hospital there for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Mercy Mercy Shield.
Well, so once the aid organizations began coming in, and realize you're still in a refugee camp, so everything's very relative. But did life improve? I mean, did you have food? Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, life did improve. They brought in a lot of medicine for. Oh, that's another thing. There are people that start dying of dysentery.
Oh yeah.
If you're not dying of starvation, you die of dysentery.
I had dysentery in Afghanistan, and it's not fun.
Oh my gosh, that's what I had in.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. So I'm on this thing right now. By the way, I gotta remind you guys. I'm going to go ahead and just do a mea culpa right now and apologize in advance. So coming up here in a few minutes, next break, I've got to bust out the door. Got called away for some important business out of town. And that just happens occasionally. That's life. One day, maybe I'll be able to just focus in on not have two jobs. But nonetheless, I've got to blow out of here and take care of something. So JP is prepared to plug in aspects of another previous show for the second half. And so if you hear something you've already heard before and it sounds very familiar, that may be because it is. But thank you very much for your indulgence on that. Well, last thing I got to tell you, something just happened as the show was breaking. I saw it happening on the TV. Trump signed a couple of executive orders that deal with his safe streets policies. And I love, by the way, the fact that we've got a president of the United States asking for the streets of America to be made safe again. He just signed an executive order to end Democrat-based cashless bail once and for all. Listen, cashless bail is a farce. Cashless bail is nothing but a get-out-of-jail-free card. Cashless bail is not bail. Cashless bail is a revolving door is all it is. You walk in the door and you're back out on the street 30 minutes later because there's no bail required. All you got to do is show up. And we take your fingerprints and you go back to your life of crime. No skin in the game, no bail required. Criminals commit crimes and get right back out on the street. Or for that matter, maybe they flee town. It's unreal. Well, Trump signed an executive order today in the Oval Office with Pam Bondi and Vice President Vance standing there looking over his shoulder. And explained that this executive order charges the Attorney General with identifying the jurisdictions around the country that have cashless bail and then withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies for crime. Listen, that's amazing. And that, all by the way, is absolutely, absolutely necessary. Real quick, Jeff from Indiana chimed in. He heard me congratulating he and his sweet wife on their 41st anniversary. I didn't even see he'd already texted in about his anniversary. Jeff, I knew it before you texted it, just so you know. I'd already planned on saying something. So I get points, but thank you for just reminding me anyway. 41 years. That's right there. Charlene and I were coming up on 40. How about that? Congratulations. And then Bruce from Springville, Cracker Barrel has basically hired an AOC wannabe as their CEO. Go woke, go broke. And then Connor from Huntsville, giving me a dipper on Cracker Barrel, says quality, price point, location. Yep, match it to the target audience. Their vibe doesn't move the product. That's exactly right. You guys, I'm out of here for the day, but the show continues. JP will be with you, plugging in some good stuff. You guys stay tuned. I'll see you tomorrow.
I almost died. I really thought I was going to die, honestly. In the refugee, I had dysentery so bad. But eventually they came in, they brought medication for all of us and food, lots of food.
In fact, now that you say that, I remember one of your speeches, you said to this day, you still get a hankering for Spam once in a while because they brought Spam.
Yes, yes. That's where I learned how to eat Spam. Yes. We still have Spam. Right now in our pantry, we always have Spam.
Well, it's funny what sticks with you like that. So you're in this refugee camp. Living conditions may have gotten somewhat improved, but you're still not in a good place. Is your family still intact? Everybody still together?
Everybody's still together. And one of my uncle who serves in the Navy for the South Vietnamese Navy. So because he served, he get to pick what country to immigrate to.
Okay.
And of course, we picked the United States of America. Everybody wanted to come here.
Yeah.
This is the place.
Was it? And let me ask you about that, because, you know, in my time overseas and in my time in Afghanistan, I actually lived among the Afghan people for a year. And it's amazing, people who have never been to America still have an idealized version of what's here.
Yeah.
So you had never seen America, but you had seen Americans, I guess, during the Vietnamese War.
I have never had, no.
So you had no interaction with
No
Americans
interaction.
before.
Mm-mm.
What was the never having seen it? What was the mental image you had of America?
Cold.
It was cold.
Yes.
Okay.
What I remember as a little kid, always hearing that America is so cold.
Okay.
And even when we were in refugee camp and getting ready to come here to America, whatever money left, my aunt and uncle left, they brought us wool sweaters
Okay.
to come to America.
They hadn't been to the South.
No. And it was July when we came, and we wore high neck, 100% wool sweater arriving to Huntsville International Airport.
What did you imagine about life in America before you ever got here? What was your did you have certain things you expected to see or you couldn't wait to see? Or
I could imagine, because my life before communists, you know, we had French things like cheese and butter and champagne, all that, not that, you know. And we've always heard that America's even better than that. So as a little kid, you know, I think about living in a castle, living in places, you know, that has carpet and I don't know. It's just like a fairy tale, I guess. As a little kid, I just thinking America is like a fairy tale story.
Well, so the day came when you found out there was a sponsor in Athens, Alabama, of all places.
Athens, Alabama.
That was willing to sponsor a family from the camp.
Yes.
How did it turn out to be your family, and what was that like?
I think it was the Van Kirks of Athens. Mrs. Van Kirk was a Catholic, and there was a nun that came to her St. Paul Church and spoke on the plight of the refugee people and said, well, they need sponsor. They need to get out of the camp. They need sponsor. And it just really touched her heart. And that's when she and her husband decided to sponsor a family. And the Catholic Church placed our family with her family.
Did they have any limits, like we can only take 4, or did they say we'll sponsor whatever they consider to be their family and we'll take the whole thing?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I never asked her that question, and now she has long passed away.
So who notified you in the camp that you were going to be going to America?
It was one of the organization. I guess it's the Catholic organization.
Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Yes, indeed. And then all y'all live streaming, and then all y'all podcasting. The bottom line is wherever you catch the show, thank you very much for doing so. It means the world to us, and you're the reason why we do what we do. Well, let me not waste no more time. Let me just jump on in here. Every Thankful Thursday, about halfway through hour number 2, we have 2 of our compadres who do things in the background that just make us feel better about ourselves, and they jump on in with their own opinions on stuff. And so let me just call the roll real quick. Is the dynamic diva of punditry from Huntsville, Lee, are you there?
I am here.
You are indeed. Thank you very much. And then silky smooth, buttery voice would be Butters. Are you there?
I am here, Phil. How are you?
I'm good, man. Glad you're here. And you, by the way, for those of you who are live streaming the show, you can see Butters in his home studio. Whoop, whoop. Looking shiny.
I'm trying to come in looking good here.
Gotcha. You know what? I pronounce it. It got a quorum. Let's do some Butters and Lee. Whoop, whoop. All right, you guys. I'm gonna jump into a question we've been talking about here for a little while. The Cracker Barrel thing. So Cracker Barrel is changing its logo. Cracker Barrel is remodeling its interior. Even to the understanding, as of about 30 seconds before we came on the air, they're even changing their menu, doing things like shepherd's pie and herb roasted chicken and other stuff. And then I also look at Target firing its CEO. Profits are volatile. Cracker Barrel stock crashed today, by the way. Here's my question for you. Is this a go woke, go broke moment? Is that where we are right now? And I'm going to say, Butters, you first.
Well, first off, I think it's a pretty simple criteria to hire the CEO of Cracker Barrel. If you can't make chicken and dumplings, like, get out of here. So so in their defense, something's been going on and they've been tanking for a long time.
Yeah.
Their stock has been going down and they needed to do something. But yeah, this seems really, and to the go woke, go broke. There's a lot of stuff on their website about inclusivity. They've got a whole section on all the different groups for their employees, for their Black employees, for their gay and lesbian employees. There's a couple of groups that are kind of missing. So I think this is a lot of, I don't know who they're polling. But now I want to feel like I'm going home to grandma's.
That's
and
right.
Going to have a good meal. Like, it's not that hard.
I know. When you're away from home and you don't have any Southern cooking, you can go there and expect to find it.
And when I was in the Navy, I always knew I could get sweet tea anywhere in the country at a Cracker Barrel if I could find one.
No doubt. I got a Cracker Barrel story but I'll tell you, I'll go to Lee first. Lee, what are you thinking? All this stuff about Cracker Barrel changing its image. Is this go woke, go broke?
Yes. And may I add that if I walked into my grandmother's house and received Cracker Barrel food, I would cry. My grandmother could cook 10 times better than Cracker Barrel.
Well, okay.
I'm just going to put that out there. Cracker Barrel food is mid at best. It is not that great. And the quality of the food has been going down for decades. But here's the thing. Remember what happened? I can't remember how long ago, a few years ago anyway, when they really started going woke and they had the rainbow rocking chairs and they're trying to be all inclusive.
Oh, yeah.
That was their first hit. And see, this is a case of, at that time and now, they are not understanding who their core consumer is. You can do all the virtue signaling you want, but if it turns off your core consumer, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face.
That's exactly right.
And they're doing it. The NFL is doing it with these male cheerleaders that are like just women doing the women butt jiggling dances and stuff. I've seen male cheerleaders, they're the ones who hold up the women and they're doing the stunts and they're like these athletic dudes. That's not what this is. So what I'm saying is they're forgetting who their core customer is. That at Target kind of screwed itself up, and it's a lot more, it's not as simple as profit for Target, but they've gotten expensive for their items and stuff like that for what they're perceived to be the quality as compared to the cost to me. But so I'm saying Target's a little bit different, but Cracker Barrel just plain forgot who their customer is.
I'll tell you a quick Cracker Barrel story and an endearing moment here. So our son was stationed out at Fort Hood, Texas, was not able to come home for Thanksgiving one time. And we arranged for him to go by there and pick up a Thanksgiving meal from Cracker Barrel because we could order it right here and it would be ready for him there. Except that when he went, they accidentally gave him, and they said that we won't charge extra for it. They did an entire family package, not just like a meal. They did a family package. He was eating leftovers for a week. And
so it was a true Thanksgiving experience.
It was actually yes, indeed. There was lots of Thanksgiving leftovers for him on that one. But I don't.
I hope that this, honestly, it gives opportunity to local family restaurants to fill in. I mean, not that necessarily Cracker Barrel's been really plugging that hole for long, but I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely an issue of woke, but I think there's just a bigger, like, what are you doing? Like, who are you? Who is your customer, and what are you doing to serve them, and how are you messaging them? Because I sure haven't seen a lot of advertising out of Cracker Barrel other than being in the headlines about being woke.
And the new logo is about as lame and plain vanilla as you can get. It's like a plain brown bag. I mean, it's In fact, somebody pointed out that if you look at the old logo, they have the guy sitting on the stool or the chair right next to the barrel, that they have taken off both the barrel and the cracker from the logo. It's awesome.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
All right, let me do question number 2 before we run out of time. All right, so Texas, don't be messing with Texas. So Texas just yesterday, all the Democrats returned. They lassoed them in, got them back in the corral, started branding them, and then now the Democrats were forced to have to go through the actual process they were elected to do, which was deal on the floor of the House with the redistricting plan. The redistricting plan is controversial. I get that. The reality is they were supposed to be there to be controversial on the floor and not run away from the state. But right now, what's happening is the redistricting plan passed the House in Texas. It now goes to the Senate, and Democrats are having to come apart. And yet, then they're threatening to sue. And yet, at the same time, Democrats are cheering Gavin Newsom for trying to do what we would call a retaliatory redistricting out in California. Just give me your thoughts on this. You know, it's good over here, but not over there argument. Lee, you first this time.
Because that just sums up Democrats for you. It's okay when I do it, which should be their slogan. But the point of the matter is, Democrats have been doing this for ages. Look at some of these heavy Democrat states that have 40% Republicans and, you know, one seat that's a Republican seat. And they've been doing this forever. And when you give it back to them, they can dish it out, but they cannot take it. And Gavin Newsom's just making noise. He just wants to show up like some sort of hero because he's really pushing to have his career move forward. And good on him. I want him to run because he's a slimy reptilian piece of you-know-what. So bring him on out. But I'm saying that this is something they've done for ages, and they just don't like it when it's done to them, pure and simple.
Yeah.
And if this gets rid of Jasmine Crockett, I'll do a cartwheel.
Butters, weigh in. What are your thoughts on the fact that the Democrats can say bad over here, but good over there as long as we're the ones doing it?
Well, first off, I definitely want to see the cartwhel. That has to be on video.
We will have a YouTube moment.
It's political theater. That's all it is. To me, it's a symptom of honestly, I guess I'd say the social media age and just trying to get headlines. Did any of this theatrics change the results of what was inevitably going to happen and what happens both times? I know, you know, you've talked about, I think you talked about it on CNN.
I did. Yeah.
That they, you know, I mean, like, this is what happens. We elect, you know, a majority and they make changes. As far as Gavin Newsom, if I understand correctly, he's having to actually change the law.
Yeah.
As opposed to what Texas, I mean, and he is definitely theater. I mean, and you know, I as slimy as he is, he seems to be pretty good at the theater of politics. So
it's theater. It's a Greek tragedy, is what it is.
So I mean, I think they're just, I mean, pictures of having a suitcase getting out. Like what are we doing? Like where did all the adults go? It's frustrating.
Well, I said last night on CNN, one of the reasons why liberals are freaking out over this is because they've done it for years. And now they're like, wait, Republicans, they figured out how to do it too. And they can't stand the idea that we're doing what, I mean, if you look at the gerrymandered states like Illinois, New York, California, there's hardly any room left for them to carve up something that butts out the few Republicans they've allowed to be in, the token Republicans they have in office. So I don't know what they're going to do to get it done, but wow.
And I wonder how much of it is like you've kind of pushed so hard against the right, and we're just trying to get along. We're trying to get along. Have you pushed far enough that there's a lot of folks on the right now that are going, I don't really care. Like we don't really care what your feelings are. We're not trying to get along. We're trying to fix some stuff that's broken.
Absolutely. So, Lee, any final thoughts before we go to break? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, we always have been go along Republicans for some reason. And then at this point, I think enough people are like, no more. You want to dish it out? We're going to dish it right back to you when we're in power. And they don't like it. They don't like it at all.
Nope. Can't stand it. All right. We're taking a break. We're coming right back. That's round one, Butters and Lee. We come back. The next round is where they ask me questions. And I just hope I have an answer. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
Tonight, Texas is one.
Well, all right. So how did you come to America? By boat, by plane? What happened?
By plane.
Okay.
Yeah. We when
Is that
we
the first
left,
time you ever flew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we left the original camp and moved to another bigger camp for 3 months. And there we were examined by the doctors and x-ray our lung to make sure we don't have TB. Some of us did have TB, and so it took a little bit longer to be on medication to get rid of it before we came to America. So we were there 3-4 months there on medications and make sure that we're healthy before we entered the U.S. So, and then we flew to Singapore. No, they took us to Singapore by boat, and we stayed there another week behind an enclosed camp there just to get us ready to come to America. And then there we flew to Seattle, Washington. That was the gateway.
Okay.
And then from there to Dallas, I think, and then Dallas to Huntsville International Airport.
So what was your first impression of the real America? I mean, what's the first thing that you like looking back on it, what was the first thing that really struck you? I am in America. What did you see or hear or smell or
The
feel?
airport.
The airport? Okay.
And there was this lady at the airport walking around with a basket of big red, delicious apples. And I remember the smell of the apple and the look of the apple. We get apple in Vietnam, but they're all bruised and everything because they're shipped from somewhere, you know. But this was like so perfect. And I'm thinking, America is going to be like that red, delicious apple.
Wow.
Everything is perfect. Everything smells so good. You know, that was my first impression of America.
It's you know, again, it's one of those things where I think sometimes we take for granted where we are.
Mm-hmm.
It is way too easy for Americans, having always lived in the first world,
Mm-hmm.
to really appreciate what we have until you go somewhere and realize what they don't have.
Yeah.
But you came from just the opposite. You came from a period of time where your family had everything, then you lost everything and had literally nothing, and now you're here.
Yeah.
And
when
red apples made a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally, I don't think we even have a penny to our name when we came to America. We have nothing left.
Well, that brings up a point. So you came to America, but then what? I mean, so did they give you a job, a house? So now what? You've been sponsored, but what does that mean?
Yeah. So when we got to Athens, Alabama, the community of Athens and our sponsor provide us an apartment, a furnished apartment. And I remember seeing it for the first time. I remember take my shoes off and feel that carpet under my feet. It was so luxurious.
Wow.
And having flush toilet.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have to squat to use the toilet. Running water, washer and dryer, soft beds. I remember open that refrigerator that was full of food.
Oh, they stocked the refrigerator for you too.
Yes. I remember seeing chicken in there that I didn't have to chase after, killed and plugged and cleaned.
Wow.
And gosh, I remember that bed was so soft that even one of my cousin, the boy, he was just 3 years old. And because he's got used to sleeping on the hard floor in the refugee camp, that he couldn't handle the soft bed. So every morning we would go wake him up. He'd be sleeping on the floor next to the bed.
Wow.
A different family come every single week to take us to the store, to take us to the health department, to take us to the dentist, enrolled us kids in school. They came with taught us English.
So they didn't just sponsor your trip; they
No.
sponsored your family to live.
Yes,
Wow.
to help us be successful.
Was this out of one church, or was this a group of friends? What was this?
It was that family, and they included their friends and church, 2 churches. Mr. Van Kirk was a Presbyterian. Mrs. Van Kirk was a Catholic. So they had 2 churches involved.
Okay.
And then, of course, their family and their friends also. So I've always, it was not like a.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. Just bulletproof influence. That's what it is. All right, we're going right back to round 2 of Butters and Lee. Bringing my 2 compadres in right now to ping me with questions and just see where the chips may fall. I'm going to go ladies first. Lee, pray tell, what is your question for moi?
Okay, so you saw where Trump, the $500 million, what would you call that, judgment that he had to post the bond just got overturned?
Yeah, the penalties, yeah.
I don't think that the judgment against him got overturned. I think just the bonds.
That's correct.
Are they going to come back and ask for another bond with lesser amount, A? And B, why do these Democrats who have obviously committed a lot of the same fraud keep throwing rocks in their glass houses? What the heck?
Okay, a lot to unpack there. First of all, they're throwing rocks because they hate Trump more than they love America. So they just need a reason to say Trump bad, and that's what they do. But yeah, so the $500 million civil penalty that was attached to Trump's case by Letitia James, appeals court threw it out. Now what happens is the appeals court sends it back, and I don't know, I haven't read the opinion, so I can't tell you exactly what there were instructions in it. Usually it's called remanding with instructions for it to be I don't think they threw out penalties. I think they threw out those penalties, and now the court may determine something more reasonable. What's reasonable, I don't know. So the opinion itself may have given a clue, or at least a direction of what is considered reasonable. And this was certainly not. This was way, way, way beyond the pale. They did not throw out the conviction. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I know not only what the opinion said, but what I don't know for a fact is what the appeal was. I would anticipate they appealed the entire case, like the whole guilty verdict plus the penalties. But this was only a ruling on the penalties, to my understanding. So I've got to dig in and find out a little more about it. But this was a win for Trump, no matter which way you look at it. So
absolutely,
yeah. And Letitia James, like this in your face. How about that? Just in your face. By the way, whatever happened to Fannie Willis? Remember her, Fannie Willis? Whatever happened to Fannie from over in Atlanta? She had the big case against Trump. She was going to take him down. She was the Letitia James of the South. And now she's just like,
well, she had her own troubles, boyfriend and money and, all that. It's another glass house thing where you're like, what are you doing?
What's that scripture? You will look for them and they will not be found.
Still haven't seen anybody hauled off in handcuffs.
Not yet. Not yet, but stand by. Butterman, what question do you have for me?
Well, so first, I want to just highlight some local elections that we got coming up next week here in Alabama. I think it's the 26th. That is next week, right?
Yeah.
And so here's a pontification question on the local elections. What would you say is your rank order with mayors, city council, all these local seats? Not necessarily looking for any specific locations, but in general, what are your thoughts on how would you rank order the importance of some of these local seats that are up?
Wow. In terms of, you mean
which one's most important? Is our mayor more important? City council more important? School boards? These local elections.
Interesting you asked that. Jeez, Manetti. I don't know that I've ever thought about rank ordering them like that. I will tell you this, local means a lot. We saw that during COVID. Local means a lot. And the amount of crap that we have discovered in our schools, which is being allowed in by feckless local school boards, most of whom just don't even pay attention. They're like just going and collecting their paycheck and then voting at the next meeting and then leaving again and then doing a ribbon cutting at the new school gym. That's all that, you know, but now that they're being called out quite often, they're dealing with it. The mayor's thing, I think, is a really big deal. It's kind of like watching Trump in the White House, the mayor to any small town. I don't care what size. I knew a very effective mayor who did great things for his town with a population of 900. I mean, it's a beautiful small town, and it's got great leadership in the mayor. I've seen some city councils that can compensate for a bad mayor by having a good council. But I've seen some feckless council members, you look at them and go, you don't deserve to even be sitting at that table. And it's only the strength of the mayor that drives the town. So it's hard call, brother. I mean, but I will say this to sort of touch on the trend of your question, though. People have got to recognize that local elections can sometimes impact you way more than what happens in DC, way more than what happens on your U.S. Senate race, because those people do things like setting local tax rates, lodging taxes. They do things like regulatory burdens at the local level. They pave your roads. They pay for your police departments. They can defund your police. They put books in your kids' hands at school. Local elections mean a lot, and they are so often the election that people stay home for and forget to go do.
Yeah, especially the end of August when it's not all that well known, other than a bunch of signs out in the yards.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too, Butters, is allegedly these races are apolitical at the local level. They're not. You don't brand. I say brand yourself. I say go out there and say, I'm running for mayor of this small town, or I'm running for city council. By the way, did I mention that I'm a Republican? You don't have to qualify as a Republican for the race, but you can sure run as a Republican and tell people you are. And I think that would go a long way in today's environment.
Yeah, definitely branding yourself is a pretty big key. So, but yeah, we've got Southside's got elections going on, and Rainbow City, and I think there's a whole bunch of municipalities around.
I live in the county, so I can't vote on it, but I know the guys that are running. But the folks there's some good people running there in all these races. But hey, listen, that's it. The music's about to play. You guys are amazing. Appreciate you both, Butters and Lee. I was traveling this morning, and Lee reminded me I'd forgotten to schedule this. So thank you very much, Lee, for holding me accountable. Appreciate y'all both very much. All right, that's Butters and Lee, as in every Thursday we do this thing. Thankful Thursdays, thankful for them. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come right back from this break, and you guys, I got plenty of stuff left. We've not even touched down on the home fries. We've not even touched on the don't mess with Texas. In fact, we're just going to be here a while. And I got text messages, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68 right. Text it, call it. Let's hear from you. We'll be right back.
Program. It was just the people in the community rallying together to help this refugee family. And I tell you, we would not be a successful family if it wasn't for the community of Athens. I mean,
I think you just nailed something too. You know, in communism, the government does everything.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
You came here, and it was private citizens who did everything.
That's right.
And they did it out of the joy of their hearts.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
That refrigerator, you talked about that in one of the speeches I watched. You talked about that refrigerator, and you said a few things just now. There was a chicken in there. You didn't have to catch it and pluck it first. But you also talked about one time when you thought you needed to eat some ice cream that was in the freezer.
Yes. So we're, of course, we came from a refugee camp, so food was, you eat everything.
You don't waste anything.
You don't waste anything.
Yeah.
So one day we're just sitting around, looking in the freezer and refrigerator and see what we can try. And we took out this tube of thing that looked like an orange sherbet.
Okay.
And we all took a spoon to get us try this American orange-looking sherbet. And we all went, oh my goodness, this tastes terrible. It was so strong. But because we just came from refugee camp, we sat there and ate a whole tube of orange sherbet.
And it wasn't orange sherbet.
No, a few days later, our sponsor, Mrs. Van Kirk, came over and she helped to make breakfast, American breakfast, for us. You know, the southern grits and the bacon and the eggs. And she went into the freezer to look for this orange looking sherbet tube, and she couldn't find it. And we told an interpreter that we ate it, and it was horrible. And the interpreter told us that it wasn't sherbet; it was actually orange juice concentrate that we ate.
Oh my gosh, I bet that was strong. That'd take the enamel right off your teeth.
Yeah.
Well, you know, but I think you made a point though. Having come from where you come from, you don't waste anything.
No.
You don't. And I would bet that was more than just food. It was probably everything. Everything had purpose, and everything could be repurposed if necessary. Well, so you just mentioned a minute ago, though, you were working through an interpreter. How was the language barrier? You come to America, it's the land of promise. It's the fairy tale you're talking about. There's a stocked refrigerator and soft beds, but you don't speak the language. So how was that barrier overcome?
Well, there was an interpreter, and her name is Anne, and she show up once in a while to help, you know, interpret. But most of the time, we don't have her. So we just point. A lot of time, we just point at each other or point at things, and just there was a lot of smiles. There was a lot of nodding
heads.
Yeah. And we just follow them whatever they want us to do. You know, we're just so grateful to their kindness and the community.
Well, and I heard too, you learned to speak Southern American.
I did. Two syllables to everything. Right?
Two syllables to everything. And one of the things I saw you say a lot of times, you'll say y'all and then laugh about it.
Yes.
Because you grew up in South Vietnam, so it fits.
Exactly. Love the South.
Well, so all right, you're a kid with a language barrier from another country, learning that there's places in the world that you can actually turn on the water and turn on the electricity and and that everything typically works. But you still have to find your way. I mean, at some point, the other people sponsoring you are going to have to say, we need to help you find a job, or we need to help you get in school. So how did life begin to normalize, and when did your family begin to be able to do things without the assistance of others?
Yeah, it was probably they were with us for at least a couple of years.
Wow,
believe it or not.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
That's the goodness of people right there.
Oh my goodness!
Praise God.
The love that they shown is just unbelievable. Some of them with us, checking in on us, even after a year or two, they were still checking in on us. And and they found jobs for my uncle at Conagra at the chicken plant there in Athens. He started working there and earned some money. And us kids were enrolled in school.
Okay.
And the school was, oh my goodness, they were so loving. I remember my third grade teacher, because I didn't know the language, she had picked a child out the class to follow me everywhere I went to make sure I didn't get lost.
Wow. But you said third grade, but you were probably 13 or 14 years old by now, right?
I was 13, yeah, because I spent 14 months in the refugee camp. At this point, I was near 15.
Because that's usually middle school, almost high school age, but you're in third grade.
Yes.
So I guess they had to do an assessment to find out where you were academically and place you?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you were older than all the kids?
Yes. Yeah.
Did it matter?
No, I'm not. I wasn't any bigger than them, actually. Oh. I was smaller. I was malnourished from the camp, and I was smaller than some of them, actually.
Wow.
And they would, at that time, I don't think they have the ESL
English second language.
Yeah, program yet.
Yeah.
But one of the language teacher pulled me out of class every day for an hour or so and worked with me.
Okay.
On the language. Yeah.
I've seen more than once that in families that come from foreign countries that the children learn the language quicker than the adults.
Absolutely.
Did you become the interpreter for the family?
Pretty much.
Yeah?
Yeah. My sister and I were, pretty much. My aunt and uncle eventually they learned English, and they both went to Calhoun and earned an associate degree.
Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, it's Calhoun Community College. So
Yes.
that's outstanding. So they were pursuing not just living, they were pursuing like improving their lot in life and doing which is also amazing because I think we have so many Americans that grew up in the first world, they forget the opportunities they have around them.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's what immigrants like me see, that America is full of opportunities.
Mm.
And that's why all immigrants want to come here, because they see those opportunities that we as Americans sometimes miss living here.
Well, so how long were you? Did you stay in a grade level below your age?
No,
throughout?
after third grade, they decided to skip the fourth grade.
Just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 on Thankful Thursday. It's Thankful Thursday. You know what? I feel like hearing the sound effect again. Thankful Thursday. Hit it.
You got to be more thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and the always delicious Taco Bell.
Have you said thank you once?
Thank you. I swear it's Gilbert Gottfried. It's Gilbert Gottfried has that voice at the end.
I wish we could see the video of the effect too, because it's just he's like, thank you.
Hey, by the way, I gotta step back. All right, so this Cracker Barrel conversation, it's like the dipper that wasn't planned. I had planned to talk about nothing but Target, and it turned into Cracker Barrel, but that's okay. I had a Cracker Barrel intro to Target. Cracker Barrel became the dipper. I'm good with it. But Robbie Starbuck, I follow him on X, and Robbie Starbuck just posted some things, and thankful for Lee from Huntsville, who sent me this link. I had seen earlier, I told Butters, I told JP, Robbie Starbuck's got some stuff apparently about what's going on behind the scenes at Cracker Barrel. Well, Lee from Huntsville caught it and texted it to me. So one of the things that may explain a lot is it turns out that one of the board members for Cracker Barrel's board of directors is a guy named Gilbert Davila, who is a DEI strategy firm. Okay, so one of your board members is a DEI strategist who also, by the way, used to be a VP for diversity at Disney. Wow. No wonder. By the way, he pushes for DEI in all his advertisements. So that's basically saying that Cracker Barrel is like infested with DEI. And then I think there was one other. Hang on a second. Let me see what she got. Is this one? Okay, yeah. And then there's just some other stuff that doesn't really relate, but it's Cracker Barrel. But that's fascinating. You're watching right now as Cracker Barrel is imploding on the stock market. But anyway, we got somebody on the line right now. You got to tell us who you are. And wait, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and take the call. This is Phil. Who's this?
My name is Jimmy Weiss. I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I was going to join in on the conversation for Cracker Barrel. I have a couple of thoughts.
Well, you are on the air right now, Jimmy, so go right ahead.
A couple of thoughts, okay? About 6 years ago, I know some folks that have worked for Cracker Barrel for many, many years. Cracker Barrel started serving alcohol and mixed drinks, and I know that I don't take my family to Cracker Barrel because I don't want to have to explain to them what other people are drinking. And my grandchildren, my son will not take his children to Cracker Barrel because they serve alcohol. And I mentioned this a couple of times to the waitress or when I'm going out, paying. I just still go to Cracker Barrel a lot. That if they would just quit selling alcohol and go back to the basics of who they are and where they started, then their business would pick back up.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I think there's a whole lot of reasons why. I don't know that I'd even thought about the alcohol connection offending some folks, but I will tell you, I think they've lost their way on a variety of things. But Jimmy, you're from Chattanooga, you say?
Yes, I live in Rossville. It's just I've got a clump of trees at the end of my driveway, and it's Chattanooga. So I just tell everybody I live in Chattanooga.
Good enough.
I used to listen to your radio station when I lived in Albany, Georgia, many years ago. But anyway, I'm never calling in unless it just irks me. So that's the reason I'm calling in.
Well, Jimmy, we're glad you
Thank
got
you,
irked
sir.
and called in, man. Thank you so much for your time.
I enjoy your program. Keep it up, sir.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. I didn't even recall that they serve alcohol at, did you? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Okay. Wow.
But it just kind of points to, again, like they're going, for some reason, they're afraid of the like grandma's cooking local conservative restaurant. And I mean, I think that may be part of the dominoes that got us to where we are now.
Matt and Madison, by the way, just texted in and said that DEI now stands for done eating in there.
Done eating in. Yeah. That's good.
Dorothy from Elkmont texted in, sent me something on Instagram. I can't look at it. So JP, you can check it out and see what it is. Kim from Danville says, if you're looking for good soul food, turnip greens, dumplings, cornbread, and you're out near Hillsboro, Alabama, Dots cannot be beat. The line starts before the door opens at lunch every day. Wow. So Dots over near Hillsboro. Thank you. You know what? I'm getting hungry by the minute right now. Kenneth from Somerville says, with regards to Target, it's pronounced Target. We used to call it that. I always felt like it was fancy Walmart.
Target.
We're going down to Target to do some upscale shopping. We're not going to that Walmart. We're going to Target. Mike from Athens gave us he says, I mean, if they're going to go woke, as a white man, I'm offended by the word cracker. White people are often called crackers, which offends me. And then he laughs.
I think he's saying, he's making fun that they just ought to call it the barrel, I guess.
Call it the barrel.
Yeah.
Go down to the barrel. Why didn't they do that?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Kenan from Huntsville says, the last time we ate at Cracker Barrel, the waitress said they were being pushed hard to upsell the customers. I believe it. Upsell and then downsize the portions. That's been driving me crazy. Raven from Russellville says, Colonel, I was just wondering, how long did it take you to get all the CNN wiped off of you? That place and those people are nasty, not to mention dumb as a rock. Well, I will tell you this. I was definitely in the devil's den sometimes, but there's some solid people there. And you know what's crazy is even during the breaks. Now, there was, of the times I've been up there, there was one time during the break that it was a little stiff, I will say. I'll just go ahead and say it again. I think I said on the show yesterday, Anna Navarro, who was a host on The View, was sitting next to me, and she just acted like she was indifferent to the idea that she was even there. And we were all just waiting on her to speak next. Anyway, it just never struck me as being very cordial. Every other time, though, even though we might rail on set, people are chit-chatting off set and laughing and cutting up, and there's been some good times. So it's kind of funny, man. But, dude, I mean, last week I was there and had the show in D.C. I'm in the green room. I actually texted Charlene. I told you this on the air. I actually texted Charlene and said, I am way outnumbered here. I was the only conservative around. Even the only Republican they brought in was a never Trump Republican, Jonah Goldberg.
He was a CNN Republican.
Yeah. And then they had, I was standing in the green room with David Axelrod from the Clinton administration. I'm like, God almighty. But yeah, they were, I was outnumbered, but nonetheless, I went in there and held my own. Dave from Capshaw says, Phil, do you receive the I'm a Pepper? Do you receive the I'm a Pepper, Dr. Pepper commercial? What does it mean? I'm a Pepper.
I guess, did you like it?
I did. Yeah.
I don't know if
I'm a pepper. He's a pepper. She's a pepper. We're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
I don't think I know that commercial.
It's older than you.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah. There are some jingles that stick forever. I still remember the Fig Newton commercial from when I was a kid. Put the inside and the outside. Is it good? Darn tootin'. It's the big Fig Newton. One more time now. The big Fig Newton.
I guess they don't make commercials like they used to anymore.
I am stuck on Band-Aid because Band-Aid stuck on me.
I know that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, plop, flop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is.
I know that one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could go all day. Apparently, I'm very prone to advertising. Raven from Russellville says, when you're outnumbered, you attack. That was the plan, brother. I brought it to him. Turn the face onto the enemy, square your shoulders, keep that sappy plate in the front and move forward. Jeff from Indiana says, looks like I'll be listening to you while watching dolphins. How cool is that? That is cool. And the fact that you're listening to us even still is even cooler. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you, man. TC from Priceville says, back to that story I had a while ago about New Coke, says New Coke conspiracy is worth looking into. Basically, it was all by design in order to stop using cane sugar and start using high fructose corn syrup. Interesting.
Well, didn't RFK
Yeah.
helps make it to where everybody has to do cane sugar.
Everything's going back to cane sugar. That is the plan. And oh, by the way, if you've ever had, you can get a Mexican Coke. If you look at it, you'll see anyway.
See, I've never had one of those.
They still, you can buy them. I see them at Costco and things like that. They're actually set up a separate display. They're Mexican Cokes, but they taste better. They have a cane sugar.
I bet they're better for you than
probably
high fructose corn syrup.
You don't go blind when you drink them. That's great. Joe in Tennessee says, I never went to Target. I call them Target or Target. He says, Target. Okay. Said, all you need to know is that they are from Minnesota. There's that. Dana from Athens says, New Coke went away. Classic Coke became a thing. Yes, it did. Cameron from Decatur says, Cracker Barrel needs to reinstate their original logo and bring somebody in to teach them how to make grits. You ever had that runny soup they call grits? I have been offended by their grits before. Yes, I have.
I've never had their grits.
Their grits are not to travel for. It's grit soup. It's not meant to be that way.
Yeah, soup or grits is not supposed to be soupy.
All right, now wait, I got to ask you a question. This is serious, JP. Don't mess with me now.
Yeah.
Grits, butter and salt or sugar?
I'm not a big grits eater, so I don't know if I can answer that for you. I'm not a regular grits eater.
You're from Alabama.
I know. I'm not. I like grits. Yeah, I'll eat them, but I just didn't. I wasn't around grits growing up that
butter
much.
And salt. Butter and salt's the only right answer.
Sugar. People put sugar in their grits.
They're made of corn. Yeah, exactly.
Huh. No, I've never heard of that.
Butter and salt. Man, the text messages are flowing. I'm going to get a few more and keep it going. We got a break coming up in a minute. Let me do this first. Allie from Athens earlier had said the sanitization of Cracker Barrel reminds me of removing the Native American princess from Land O'Lakes butter. Yes. And how about Aunt Jemima? Whatever happened to Aunt Jemima? Everybody loved Aunt Jemima. Oh, and by the way, was Aunt Jemima and Mrs. Butterworth. Mrs. Butterworth. And then what's the Uncle Ben's rice? Uncle Ben's. Come on. Totally unnecessary. Totally. Ian from Hartzell says, it's 3 hours to dinner. Y'all are making me hungry. And on that, we will take a break. We're taking a break right now. You guys are an amazing audience. More text messages are flowing in, including Raven from Russellville, who says, it's butter and salt. Yes, sir. Yes, it is. That's right. Covey leader calling Raven. Do you have your butter and salt on your grits? Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We started doing the show, and
so I skipped 4th grade and I continued to go to school. And I was 22 when I graduated from high school. From
22?
Athens. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anybody know that you were 22?
No. No. Because at that time I probably could buy alcohol.
Well, yeah, probably could. You might have been the best friend.
Yes.
So you came from a vastly different culture with a vastly different perspective on life and also maybe a deeper appreciation for what is needed versus what is wanted.
Right.
But then you got into like American junior high and American high school. And did you enjoy high school? Was it fun? Did you do sports or anything? What was it? No.
So we saw the opportunities that was here in America for us, and we knew that we left relatives at home that are struggling.
Yeah.
So I didn't have your typical high school, high schooler that's going to sport and going to doing all these things that high schooler do. And at that time in Athens, every Friday night they would ride around the square in their car, with their music blasting. That was the thing to do. Yeah. I didn't get to do any of that stuff because I was working.
Okay, where'd you work?
So my aunt and uncle, they earned an associate degree from Calhoun Community College, and they both got jobs. And from that, they saved their money enough to buy a Chinese restaurant.
Really?
In Huntsville, which is 30 minutes, about 20 to at that time, about 20 minutes drive from Athens.
Okay. Yep.
So they bought the restaurant, and so I worked there, 7 days a week in high school.
All right. So I grew up in Huntsville.
Yeah.
You know that. You know some of my family. We
Yes.
discovered earlier. Where was the restaurant?
It's no longer there.
Okay.
It was a Hong Kong Chinese restaurant on North Parkway before you get to Max Luther.
Yeah. I think
It's
I've eaten
right-
there.
No way. I might have served you.
You might have. That's crazy.
Yeah. So let's see. It was right next to. It was attached to a hotel that has the orange roof.
The orange roof. Yeah.
Oh.
Your husband's over here wanted to say
Yeah,
it. Don't worry about it.
I know.
But the reality is, so your family had a
gosh.
restaurant and you worked in it. How many days a week did you work there?
7 days.
Oh, so you went to school and worked 7 days a week.
I would go to school. After school, I would drive up to Huntsville and work there, waiting tables. And in between waiting tables, I'm doing my homework.
So you've definitely got a work ethic.
Yes.
The restaurant was where you spent the majority of your free time, which wasn't really free, but was the whole family involved in the restaurant?
Yes. My aunt and uncle, of course, my aunt would quit her job to run the restaurant. My uncles continued to work just to keep the insurance.
Yeah.
And my sister would stay back home to take care of their boys who were still in school. But I helped with the restaurant during the week. And then on the weekend, everybody, the whole family worked. On Friday night, Saturday and Sunday, the whole family worked in the restaurant.
I think the other thing that too often Americans miss, and not everybody, because there's entrepreneurial spirit here. There's still a great sense of industry in the United States, and there are people that appreciate what we have, but there's also people too often that become complacent and don't realize that sometimes hard work really does pay off. And that's also honoring God. That's a stewardship of what he gave you.
Exactly.
Part of stewarding is even your time.
Right.
The relationships that you had with the sponsors who were with you for 2 years. One of the things that strikes me, there's a passage, and I've got to think where it is right now, but I think it's in 1 Thessalonians, but it says, because you had become so dear to us, we were content not only to share the gospel with you, but even our very lives as well. Meaning that what you had was a deep relationship with these people. Did that continue even after the first 2 years? Did the families you had seen that sponsored you and helped you, were they still around? Were you still seeing them?
Yeah. We still continue to see some of them.
You said something in one of your speeches too about something. I'm jumping around a little bit, but you said something about one of the things that really got you was a Salvation Army angel tree.
Yeah. That first Christmas in America. I was 13.
Okay.
And then my sister, who was 10, 11. And then I have three, my aunt and uncle had 3 boys. And they're younger. So that very first Christmas, I woke up, don't understand anything about Christmas.
You grew up Buddhist? I mean, like, man, just giving you all the truth you could slap on a bumper sticker. Let me just tell you, you guys are some texting machines. I'm pretty sure you said it a minute ago during the break. Every time we talk about food, it lights up the phone line, text lines.
None gets the people talking like food.
Oh,
and hey, rightfully so. Okay?
Rightfully
so.
Hey, it's food.
Yeah.
It's more than food right now. We're talking about like good food.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're all hungry. Like that's good food we're talking about. I tell you what do you think, JP? Do more tech messages? Because I mean, there's a bunch of folks. Let's just do it.
Pretty much the wide consensus is grit's good.
Let me get a few of these. Gary MS from Huntsville. Gary MS says, I like my eggs over easy. When I get my grits, I spoon the yolk over my grits, and then I add salt and pepper. Oh, man. Listen, I may have to ask Charlene if we can have breakfast for dinner tonight. Lee from Huntsville says, when I grew up, my mom served grits with butter and sugar. What? I only eat them with salt and pepper now with bacon. Yes. I'm going to have grits for dinner. I just am. Scott from Russellville, Alabama says, JP, not dealing with grits might be related to his weak man card from not watching Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Wow.
Hey.
You getting called out, dude.
I don't know what to say.
No Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? No, have you seen Outlaw Josie Wales yet?
Can't say I haven't,
My
so.
God. and you don't eat grits.
I mean, I like grits. I just didn't grow up eating grits all the time, so I can't have a valid opinion on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Raven from Russellville reminded me that we have long time said that the official food of Rightside Radio is maple bacon donuts. Hoorah, airborne, he says. And there you have it. Maple bacon donuts. Listen, have you had a maple bacon donut?
I have.
Oh, my goodness.
They are quite
Holy
something.
cow. That's a thing. John from Harvest says, being from California, grits just seems like a bowl of snot. Sorry, not sorry. John, you live in Harvest, Alabama now. You need to assimilate. It's time to come on in. We'll take you. I mean, I'm talking fried chicken. You're talking about scrambled eggs. Get you a little gravy. Slap it on a biscuit. Oh, by the way, butter and salt on the grits. JP from Priceville says butter and salt with crumbled bacon. There you have it. Jerry from Decatur says, hey, Cracker Barrel, it's God, family, and country. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you very much. Paul from Athens says, my baloney has a first. Oh, yes, there's another jingle. My baloney has a first name. It's OSCAR. My baloney has a second name. It's MAYER. I love to eat it every day. If you ask me why, I'll say, because Oscar Mayer has a way of BOLONGA. Why do I remember that? That is like from me being 6 years old.
Advertisers love people like you. They remember that.
Matt from Madison says, did you know Barry Manilow wrote? Yes, he did. Barry Manilow, the less than manly but very quality Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter, wrote a bunch of those jingles. He wrote the Band-Aid one. I think he wrote the Plop Plop Fizz Fizz for Alka-Seltzer. He wrote several. David at Bucky's. Phil, is it soup yet? We're working on it, dude. Jeff from Indiana says, come and get you from the Sunny Lady. They had a giant lady go overboard. Wait, hang on a second. What now? A giant lady fell overboard? Oh, I see. That's right. I know where you are now. Exactly. That's an attraction down there on the beach. What else we got? Real quick, before we go to the break, what do we got? Let's see here. That's it. That's all. I caught up with all the text messages, especially the ones on grits and maple bacon donuts. And listen, I'm just telling
all the
you.
important texts say that. Yeah.
I am pretty excited about it too, as a matter of fact. Hey, by the way, we're gonna do another audible because there's a story that broke that relates to Alabama right here in this listening area. University of West Alabama, down yonder in what community is that? I'm trying to think which one.
It's just west of Tuscaloosa.
It is west of Tuscaloosa. I've been there. I actually spoke to a Rotary Club down there at UWA, but I can't remember the name of the town off the top of my head. Anyway, end result is one of their officials just got caught in like an expose video talking about how he's working to get around the whole policies about no DEI on campus now. And when he was confronted, it got even funnier. But we're going to come back from this break. And since we've been talking about DEI and talking about the things that, we need to see less of, we're going to go ahead and deal with that and see where it is. But we got the audio track, I guess the video track to go with it. And I made this I have not seen it. JP told me about it. All I know is it's out there as a story. And so I'm going to be jumping into this thing first thing with you too. Y'all stay tuned. We will do a lot of stuff on the show, but bringing truth to it is one of the main reasons we're here.
The West Alabama video it's one of those like Project Veritas, where they went undercover with the camera. So it's like, the fact that he didn't even know he was being recorded and that he was saying what he was saying, so boldly is what makes it even better. Well, it's the like how he has the guts to say. Well, we'll play it after the fact, but it's like no shame after the fact that he's saying it. Like I said, with no shame at all.
I'm wondering what the school's going to say about this. Has the school mentioned? Well, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about when we get back. How about that? University of West Alabama. Any graduates out there? Guess what? They're still pushing DEI on campus. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. I think I heard you say that. Yeah.
I grew up. Well, my family, Buddhist, but we weren't like practicing Buddhist, religiously or anything like that. I think it was just one of those things that you kind of pass on from your ancestor.
It was cultural religion as much as anything.
Yeah. And so I remember waking up Christmas morning and there was a Christmas tree that's decorated. And there's these big mesh bag. At that time, it was the angel tree. Came from the Salvation Angel Tree, which I didn't know that it came from Salvation Angel Tree, Salvation Angels Tree program.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, but I remember waking up, seeing that the tree and these big mesh bag that full of toys and oranges, and I remember at that time. Now I'm dated back. The strawberry shortcake little strawberry shortcake dolls, that smell just like strawberry shortcake. I remember smelling it for the first time. And it makes such an impression. I'm like, who did this? Who would do this for us? It would just make such a big impression on me that a few years later, I found out that it was the Salvation Army Angel Tree, and I wanted to volunteer there and help. And so I got to volunteer with that program for several years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Give back.
To give back.
Yeah.
Because it makes such a huge impression on me.
Well, so let me ask you this. So you came to America with, you called it a fairy tale ideal of what America might be, never having seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've been here for a few years. Was it living up to expectations?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So no deflation, no, loss of the ideal?
No. Part of it because we knew what communism did to our country. And we knew that my parents and some of my 4 siblings and cousins and aunts and uncles in Vietnam, I knew that they were struggling so badly that anything is better than what they are living. And America has given us these opportunities we're just so grateful to whatever America gave us, and we seize it, and work really hard. I've always, when I go and speak to kids now, I've always like, you don't have to be the smartest kid in the classroom. You just got to show up and work. That's all.
I practice law, and I was told by an old lawyer back when I was a new lawyer. I won't say young because I wasn't young, but I was told by an old lawyer when I was a new lawyer. He said, you don't have to be the smartest lawyer in town. You just have to be the hardest working.
Yep.
He said, most lawyers are lazy. He said, you do the work and do the research and prepare yourself. You'll beat the smartest lawyer in town every time.
Exactly. Wise words.
There are wise words. I actually shared them with another young lawyer later because now I'm the old lawyer. Well, so let me ask you something. You mentioned a moment ago, you knew back home that your family that you had left behind lived still in a struggle in many ways. Did you have communication with them? Did you know how they were doing? Did you write back and forth? What?
Yes.
Okay.
We did. At that time, we wrote back and forth, and it would take months. And everything we wrote to them was open by the communists.
Oh.
And they would read our letters because I knew that because when I received letters from home, my parents and sibling would date the letter, so I knew it would take several months. And all of my letters that I received had been opened. And I remember one time I even slipped $1 or $2 in my letter, and my dad wrote back and told us not to do that anymore because they won't get it.
Wow.
It was open and read and sealed.
But at least they knew you were safe.
Yes.
How long did it take before they knew you were safe?
6 or 8 months.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you were able to get a message to them while you were in the refugee camp?
When the organization came and helped us, we wrote a letter to my cousin in Australia, and they delivered to my cousin in Australia. And my cousin in Australia wrote to my parents, said that your family is in a refugee camp in Indonesia. That's how they, because my mom, I found out later in 93 when I went back that my mom, the market in Vietnam people go to the market in Vietnam a lot.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the Southeast U.S. of A. Y'all are talking about this show. This show, it goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. All the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn. And once again, across the border to what we call Fort Benning. And then back up there, you got big old patches of North Georgia, big old patches of Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. And then, oh, by the way, that's just the radio. Then there's all y'all out there in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web, live streaming the show. Look it in the studio, like right now, on video, audio, all of it. Places like X, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook, and our website, rightsidemedia.org. And then there's all y'all that podcast. Thank you very much. Doesn't matter where you pick up the show. The fact that you do means the world to us. We're doing this because of y'all, and we appreciate you. on a Thankful Thursday. We're thankful for you. How about that? Real quick, I'll get a couple of text messages and we're going to jump on this topic that JP's helping me with. By the way, Joe in Tennessee reminds me that University of West Alabama is in Livingston, Alabama. Livingston. That's right. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Chris from Huntsville says shrimp and grits is best, and UWA's in Livingston. Thank you very much, Chris. David at Bucky says, I'm reminded of the scene in My Cousin Vinny. What's a grit? How do you cook them? So in the Army, you would see this. Guys would come down like to Fort Benning, Georgia, in the mess hall, and they'd stare at their food, and they're from New Jersey. And they're up there eating like cream of wheat and stuff, right? Cream of wheat. What's this? It's grits. What's a grit? And then you have fun. You go, well, they grow on grit trees. Really? Yes. Native to the South.
Native to the South.
Last one, Fritzy from Huntsville says, JP, I want to go see an Auburn football game this year. Any recommendation? Which one might be the best this season? Fritzy.
I mean, there's the Georgia and the Iron Bowl both in Jordan area this year. But if you want to go to one that Auburn may actually win, maybe pick a cupcake.
Whoa. Hey. Wow. Okay. We'll just see.
However, they'll both be fun games. So
we'll just see how you feel when the season's over. We'll just see. I look forward to JP on Sports every week as you update me once again on nothing but Alabama. Alabama this, Alabama that. Hey, so we talked a lot today about the whole situation with Target firing their CEO. Target's stock was just volatile because they constantly were dabbling into wokeness and they would drive people away. And now what they've done is they've officially, allegedly, abandoned DEI. So now the libs are mad. Well, how about this? If you had never gotten into DEI in the first place, you'd probably be better off. Well, in Alabama, our state legislature passed a legislation just in the last couple of years that abolishes the use of DEI in government and in education environments, all of which are state taxpayer funded, right? So what they're doing is saying, if we're paying for it, you're not doing it. We've had real problems with some of the universities attempting to rebrand their DEI efforts and just give it a new name. I think one of them was UAB, and then another one we find now is apparently University of West Alabama. So University of West Alabama is now crawfishing. I've got a piece right here that says the University of West Alabama's president claims the school is fully compliant with state DEI laws, despite the video suggesting otherwise. So JP clued me in while I was traveling today. This video broke. Give us what you got, JP. What's the word? What's this about?
Is the dean of students at West Alabama was caught on video, not knowing he was being recorded, talking to some undercover reporters, saying how the university has cleverly found a way to circumvent these laws and basically still have DEI, but just changing the name.
Did he say they're actually looking for loopholes or something like that?
Yeah, like he in the video directly said that they are finding loopholes to get around this to continue to get state funding for these programs, just changing the name essentially.
Unreal.
So
all right, how long is the video?
About 2 minutes. We can go as long as we want with it.
Yeah,
but
all right, so you can hear everything on it?
Yes.
All right, let's play it.
Can't directly fund DEI programming, so we have been looking for loopholes.
Stop. Okay. He actually says it just like that. We can't fund DEI programming, so we've been actively looking for loopholes. All right, go ahead.
Byron Thetford? That's me. Oh, we received a report that you were pushing DEI in defiance of the state law and seeking loopholes to get around the law. Is that true?
It's not, no, sir.
You've never talked about pushing loopholes to get around the law?
I haven't, no.
What about this video of you right here specifically saying?
So we have been looking for loopholes.
I mean, that does look like you, correct?
That is me, yes.
Okay, and you said right here that you were searching for loopholes in the law. What did you mean by that?
We play the video.
Sure.
We can't directly fund DEI programming, so we have been looking for loopholes. So part of this position would be working with some of that. We have some funds through our PBI grant that we would like to dedicate to that.
Wow.
And we do still have a chief. We have somebody who's serving as our chief. I have to be careful. It to be somebody who's serving as our chief diversity officer currently. They're fluxing out of that role because we have to for state purposes. If we want to continue to have state funding, we had to discontinue all DEI.
Wow.
I guess that was my question. Yeah, like that's my question. Like, is it going to go away?
Just like with Florida, when you're not having to completely go away, it's just that you can't use state funds for it. So
okay,
part of that would be payroll funds.
What does that mean? Payroll funds?
Payroll funds are funds that are used to pay people.
Sure, they come from the state, do they not?
Most of them do, yes.
Well, then they are state funds being used for DEI. Well, what did you mean by you're looking for loopholes?
We're still looking for ways to provide for our students in any way that we can.
Wow.
So we are all still partnering to work together to offer programming and events for those certain things. We're just being more mindful about how we go about it.
Yeah, okay.
It's up there. I think we get the gist of it. You know what's crazy? If those of y'all who are just hearing this but not able to watch the video, the smugness on his face. I mean, he's giving you like the wink, wink, nod, nod look.
I have to be careful how I say things.
You know, got to be careful how I say things. It just, wow.
I love how he got like his face when he got. Part of me feels bad because he's in a t-shirt and shorts. And didn't know he was about to get ambushed.
When they catch him on the way, he doesn't look like he's been to the gym, so he must have been out for a walk. But so I look at this and think, okay. By the way, who's the expose? Who ran this? It wasn't Project Veritas.
No. So the name of the company is Accuracy in Media.
Okay.
But it's kind of a similar thing as a Project Veritas.
Well, you know what strikes me is they didn't go there on a lark. They went there because apparently this guy has done this enough to where the word got out. Hey, he's actively doing these things. Go check it out. And then they went to do a story. So this is not like a one-time oopsie. This is apparently something that was significant enough that these people came in from out of state to swoop in on him because somebody gave up the goods on what he was doing.
And now you mentioned this to me. I hadn't seen this, that apparently the president of West Alabama put out a statement and saying that they believe they're in full accordance with the law. But like your dean of students was just directly caught on tape talking about how they're not. So I don't know that like this guy's got to get fired, right?
Is he? That was my next question. Is he still the dean of students?
As of now, I believe. I haven't seen
He's probably
any
tenured.
Yeah, but it's like they have to fire him. Like that's about as blatant as it gets. I think the state of Alabama's got to say this guy goes or you lose your state funding. Period.
Unbelievable. Unstinking believable. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, this guy is what a chucklehead he is. But this is what happens. You know, the arrogance of the left. And I don't know anything about this guy. I'm going to go ahead and assume. I would bet that if we looked up his voting record or found him on social media, we would probably not be of alignment, and we would probably say, well, there you go. But what a complete knucklehead to be in the position he's in and to be saying things to people who just walk in your door like, yeah, hey, I got to be careful how I say it. But looking for a little loophole, we got to spend the money, but we don't want to spend it, and anyway, come on. That's, but keep in mind too, you're in red state, Alabama. This is red state, Alabama. Now that, by the way, Livingston, Alabama, I believe falls into Terry Sewell's district. So that's in one of the only Democrat base Democrat districts, has been for quite a while. But there are still good Republicans down there. I know because I went and spoke to them. But wow, that's something. Wow. All right, take me to a break, JP. We'll come right back. We'll see what's going on the last few minutes of the show. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
And watching the Chappelle Show.
Right.
Like the street markets.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also a social place, a place where people catch up with their neighbors, and find out, all the gossip going on. And every day she would go to the market and she would hear so-and-so left, but they didn't survive the sea. Oh, wow. So-and-so was robbed by pirates and they killed everyone. It got to the point where my parents hadn't heard from us for months. My mom was so distraught. She thought that she might have sent her kids to die, because she hadn't heard from us for months, and she didn't think that we had survived. She said, I can't hear this anymore. So she stopped going to the market, and she shut herself upstairs in one of the rooms until she could hear if we had survived or not. Wow. And my sister said one time she went to spend some time with my grandmother for the summer and came back, and my mom was sitting there, and she didn't even recognize my mom because my mom had lost so much weight, and she was just grieving, thinking that we didn't survive.
Wow. But you did. Mm-hmm. You came to the United States. Life is better. And were you able to communicate with them directly at that point? Were those letters, you weren't having to go through Australia anymore. You were sending letters directly.
Right.
Wow. So you're 22 years old leaving high school, but you met a guy named John at some point who's sitting over here to my left. And you and John now have been married for a lot of years.
It'll be 35 years this June.
Yeah. My wife, Charlene, and I are at 38.
Wow.
But you and John met, and I saw you give a speech to a church, and you said that John had already decided he was going to marry an Asian woman because God had told him that.
Yes.
And then he met you.
Yes.
And I guess that was it.
Yeah.
But you also had some friends who prayed you two together. Mm-hmm. Tell that story.
Okay, so let's see how. Okay, so John went on a mission trip, Central America, and he was engaged to a lovely young lady in North Alabama. Well, during his mission trip, he realized she wasn't the one for him. So when he got back, he broke up their engagement. So a few months after that, he was going down an escalator at the Parisian. If you live in North Alabama, you know there was a mall there with a store called Parisians.
Yeah.
Well, he was buying a gift for a baby shower, and he came down this escalator, and he saw this older Asian lady at the end of the escalator where there was some makeup counters.
Yeah.
And he had a flashback that when he was a kid, he saw himself marry an Asian person, a woman. And so he said, out loud, he said, God, that's what I need.
Apparently he was right.
And so the next day when he went to the baby shower, he saw a friend, and his friend said, we have this girl we want you to meet. She's a friend of my girlfriend, who at that time was my best friend in high school. And John's like, I don't really want to date a high school girl.
Because he was older, right?
Right. He graduated from UAH, has his engineering degree and all that stuff. He was 25. And he said, no, I don't really want to date a high school girl. And his friend said, oh, no, she's actually 22 years old.
But she's still in high school.
Yeah, she's still in high school. And he said, no, I don't really want to date a stupid high school girl. And they're like, no, she's actually 22. And they had to explain why I was 22 in high school. I didn't know English and all that. And they had this a grainy high school newspaper of me winning some sort of award. And they showed it to him, and he said, oh, okay, I'll meet him and her. And so he came on our awards night, and that's how I met him. And I knew he was the one right away. I wasn't even allowed to date at that time.
Oh, you weren't allowed to date?
I've never dated.
Okay, so how did this go over?
Yeah. So I knew
tell your uncle and aunt what's going on now, right?
It took me several months. I had to work up the courage.
Did he have to come to the restaurant?
Oh, my gosh. He ate so much Chinese food. So much. I mean, this is a guy that doesn't even eat black pepper. You know, he was forced to eat a lot of Chinese food. So I went to my aunt and uncle and said, I met this guy, and I think, I really like him. I'd like to know him. And my aunt said, well, you work 7 days a week, so you can't date.
They were cutting you no slack.
No, you work 7 days a week, and if he wanted to see you, he had to come to the restaurant. So John would come to the restaurant after work almost every single day. Mm. And we would chat. We write a lot of letters to each other, so we would trade letters when he come over, and then I would talk to him while I was running tables here and there, one slow time or whatever. And he ate a lot of Chinese food, learned to eat a lot of Chinese food at that time. And he even one day took off.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Man, just making common sense like a superpower. Hey, I'm going to go right to the phones because I don't want to take him away from his vacation any longer than we should. But I understand that the Dolphin Man, Jeff Rowe from Indiana, is on the line. Hey, buddy, how are you doing?
I'm coming at you from under the waterline of the Sunny Lady here in the Bay.
Well, you are a dedicated caller, I will say that. So how's the Dolphin show going?
It did real good. We had some surfing behind the boat there and everything like they do. They'll get some dolphins and speed up, and then they'll catch a wave and ride the wake and everything. It's pretty cool.
It is very cool. I used to go out in the intercoastal waterway with a guy who had a big sailboat, and he had sort of developed a technique of locking the rudder and letting the sailboat go in circles, and it attracted dolphins. And I remember one time actually baby dolphins, like they were like the length of my arm. They were small, but
oh yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, these dolphins, it's like I say, if nobody's ever been on a dolphin cruise, make sure you go on one because they're well worth the money.
Well, good. All right, so the vacation's still going, and you got to come back to the real world here in a few days. But is the heat any better? Because it's cooled off a little bit up here.
It's not too bad right now. I got a little breeze going down here. That and being under about 8 to 10 knots ain't too bad either. So keep it going.
Well, good. Well, what do you think, man? I know you haven't had a chance to hear the whole show, but what do you think about all this stuff? And especially, what do you think about Cracker Barrel changing its whole image?
I think Cracker Barrel is punched a hole in the bottom of their boat. You know, they're sinking. I don't want to go on that cruise because I think they're going to hit bottom. And, you know, it took them so long because they used to be just a Southern thing. And then they built their brand up and, you know, started coming everywhere.
Yeah.
And I love the food, love the atmosphere and everything. And now they're going to change all that for whatever reason to something that doesn't work as well.
Yeah. I don't get it at all. I mean, I really feel like they're losing. And I understand that some things will change over time, you know, but you know what? This was unnecessary, and this feels like it was such a cold water, like throwing cold water in people's faces. It was like just a complete sea change, not even looking like them anymore. I think they're losing it.
I just wonder how long it'll be before I see Dylan Mulvaney be the hostess, you know. Welcome to Cracker Barrel.
If Dylan Mulvaney wants to seat you at the you'll know. Wow. I don't know. I heard they're changing the menu too, though. That's also bothering me because the menu is supposedly what people go there for. Menu and atmosphere. That's a restaurant right there.
Yeah, that's their gig. I mean, if they lose your gig, it's just another restaurant.
Well, I don't know.
Because food is good, but it's not that good. So
now, speaking of food, you did some Lambert's last night, home of the throwed rolls down yonder, didn't you?
Just did it a while ago. Yep.
How was it?
And son-in-law, it was great as always. Son-in-law, he's a good catcher. He does the one-hander, you know, all the way across the room.
Yeah, that I haven't been down there in years, but anybody who's been down to the Gulf Shores region, seen the billboards, come to Lambert's, home of the throwed rolls. They actually come out and they throw rolls at you, and you better catch them, but they're going to smack you in the head.
And they are very hot. And once you catch it, you got to put it down because it's that hot. They are fresh.
Well, what's on the agenda for you tomorrow? You got some beach time? Y'all going to hang out?
Yep, going to do some beach time tomorrow and some other stuff, and then probably start homeward bound on Saturday.
Well, good for you, man.
And we're probably be up in your neighborhood about Saturday evening.
Yeah, well, good deal. Well, listen, y'all have an amazing time, and we'll talk again soon, all right?
All right, Phil. You can hang in there now that you're going to be every week on CNN here, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm scheduled to go back next Friday tentatively. You know, they don't lock it in until a few days ahead of time, but tentatively I'm scheduled for next week. So we'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, y'all have a great time, brother. We'll see you soon.
All right. Everybody have a good time. Thank you.
All right. See you, buddy. That's just cool. He calls us from his vacation. I love that. And you can hear the echo. You knew he was down. He was down at the bottom of the boat. Stephen from Athens sent us something. There's apparently a live active shooter event going on at Villanova University right now. Hate to hear that. You said there was one at UT Chattanooga?
Yep, UT Chattanooga had one today as well. I haven't seen any reports on if there's any casualties or not, but
look up Villanova real quick, see if you can find anything on it, see what's going on with that. John from Huntsville has the grades in. Says Butters and Lee both get an A+ for the equally fantastic performance. And Phil gets an A+ for his nearly perfect performance, which means, once again, today's winner with a perfect A+ is obviously the brilliant JP, because I gave him 20 extra credit points for his spot-on Cracker Barrel comments.
Well, thank you.
Spot on.
Well, thank you.
And there was that whole panoply of sound effects you did all at one time earlier.
I did.
What was that for? I don't remember what it's for.
We were talking about Letitia James not having to pay up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was nothing but goodness. Villanova, what do you see? Anything?
I'm not seeing any reports in terms of if they've captured the shooter or not. I haven't seen anything yet, just that it's a currently ongoing situation.
Okay. All right. Hey, I did not even get to all my dippers today, which is a great, somebody once said to me, I think it might have been John. John used to grade me. He used to ding me on my grade if I didn't finish the dippers. And I finally pointed out to him, if that happens, it means that the audience and the topic were so intense that we carried on longer and didn't get to all the rest of the content. Thank you. Thank you very much. And in fact, he even came back and said, Phil, you've swayed me. That's a good point. But that was today. So there'll be some content tomorrow that I didn't get to today, so stand by for it, like home fries. We'll do some more home fries and probably add to it a bit. But I got to tell you, there's a story that broke just a few minutes ago. In the last couple of minutes, I'll say something that I think is worth just ending the show on. Trump, right this very minute, is out doing a ride-along with law enforcement in Washington, D.C. First of all, when has that ever happened? When has the president of the United States ever gone out like that and done a ride-along with law enforcement on the streets of our nation's capital? By the way, keep in mind, he also said it's a crime-ridden city, but he's going to go out there and ride the streets anyway. So the breaking news right now is that he's out there, but let me tell you what this means to the men and women in blue. They're out there on the street, and the president of the United States came to see them. The president of the United States came out there to see them and the National Guardsmen who are guarding our nation's capital and make it. The crime rate is plummeting in D.C. right now. It's at a level that it's maybe never been. But I add to that the fact that yesterday, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and the Vice President, J.D. Vance, went to visit the National Guardsmen and had lunch with them. And what really was galling to me was that protesters showed up to scream at them while they're having lunch with these young guardsmen. Those guardsmen are getting something that they would never have dreamed of. They are sitting there having lunch, I mean, literally at a table with the Vice President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense. And it's y'all, this is a selfie moment. This is a YouTube moment. And the protesters won't even let them have their moment. The protesters are literally shouting at them while they sit there and have a meal with the upper leadership in their chain of command. The left doesn't get it. The left doesn't even get the fact that the streets are safer and that the National Guard guys don't mind being there and that the law enforcement has endorsed this and thanks for it. And if you look at it, you'll also find that Mayor Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., she's not fighting this. You know why? Because they're glad to have it. So yeah, Trump being out there right now with other members of law enforcement is a huge deal, and I think it's a clear indication that he understands what leadership is. Because I don't recall there being a time when Joe Biden showed up like this. Do you? I don't remember a time that there was anybody that really resonated with an opportunity to hang out with Kamala. I'm telling you right now, it's a different world we got, and I'm glad of it. And there's the music, so the preacher got to quit preaching. So let me just go ahead and tell you, like I do every single time, and I mean it every single time, yes, there are more of us than there are of them. Yes, God is still on his throne. And yes, y'all stay in the fight. We'll see you tomorrow.